Hey y'all, it's Thursday. We're a little late tonight. It's 10:05 Eastern, 7:05 Pacific, and we got a lot to talk about tonight. So let's just get started. So have y'all caught that you can buy bag lettuce, bag salads at half price or discounts?
So affordable.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the co-pays you're going to have to pay eventually when you contract the explosive diarrhea are well worth it. Are well worth that very inexpensive bag
Yeah.
salad. No, it's not medical advice. Don't take it. Don't take my advice.
Definitely not. Do not take that advice.
Don't take that advice. Don't do it.
So let's watch this clip from a couple days ago.
Response to some of the criticism that the cuts to the federal agencies under your leadership has slowed the response. Do we have
those criticisms are invalid. We've had no cuts in our surveillance program. We did cuts in the Food Net program, but they were redundant surveillance, and all the states will tell you that. We're still doing forensics. We're still doing surveillance in all the states.
What's the truth? Would we be in a spot if he had not made those cuts?
We would be. FoodNet is America's smoke detector for foodborne illnesses. It covers typically 8 pathogens. Now it's just us 2, and just look at the facts. Typically in a given summer, we'll have 200 to 300 cases. We have at least 7,000 right now. But we haven't seen an outbreak of cyclospora like this. I mean, he has minimized measles, he's minimized the impact of EPA cuts on air pollution, and now he's doing the same with the cyclospora outbreak. As our foodborne disease surveillance system looks for more than just salmonella and E. coli. Right now, we just look for those 2 pathogens under his leadership. Typically, we look at all 8.
All right, so we're pretty screwed right now. In fact, I think it's actually surging. And I made the mistake yesterday. I had a poke bowl, and my go-to as the base is brown rice and mixed greens. And that's what I did without really thinking. And meanwhile, we just have to remember the, I don't know, is it called a gestation period? Whatever it is 3 weeks. So I hope I'm gonna be okay. Oops.
This is why, for health, I'm sticking to an all ice cream diet.
Yeah. I'm so glad that I have so far kept this at bay from my 6-year-old and my 9-year-old. My 9-year-old's a big salad eater. But I mean, like most kids would rather have like gummy bears for breakfast, right? Like she would rather have all the like delicious ice creams and not salads. So,
for health.
And she's also, for health, and also has a little OCD that goes with her autism. And so she gets really hung up on like expiration dates. Like she's obsessed with them. And we keep explaining, like Adam, he knows, like as a lawyer, we've tried to use like the very like lawyerly terms to explain why those dates are on like cereal boxes, right? Like, like you're gonna be fine if you eat Cheerios a week late, you're fine. So God knows what would happen. She'll never eat lettuce again if I tell her that. Like if she knew this was happening, like we would never get her to eat a salad again in our life. So
I can't keep doing steamed vegetables and grilled vegetables in this heat. I mean, it's great. So I think I am going to go to my favorite salad place. It's a bakery. And they have this really great beet salad. And I'm just going to ask them, do you guys use bag greens? They make all their fresh bread. Like a lot of restaurants order their bread. So I'm hoping they bring in the greens and prepare them. I think they'll be honest with me, but I got to have a salad. I just got to.
I was thinking about it. Tomorrow I have to go get my coffee. I go to this place. It's like a Swiss bakery, and they have salads there. And I was like, I bet you they don't. I bet you they get their lettuce somewhere else. I bet you that one.
I think we just got to ask and be like, look, I'm still going to order something. I just want to order the salad. Just tell me the truth. I don't know. I'm going to have a discussion with them. They know. They know. If you have a relationship with them, they should be honest. Okay, one more clip, and then we're going to move on. This is kind of how bad it's getting here.
Acidic stomach illness skyrocketing to record levels. More than 11,000 people.
Let me pause for a second. This aired last night, so it's pretty up to date.
People have been sickened in 41 states. It comes just 24 hours after Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. tried to reassure the public.
Does the federal government have this outbreak under control right now?
We do have the outbreak under control. We have done extensive forensics, epidemiological forensics, and we've identified the source of the outbreak.
The FDA has linked 1,600 cases to lettuce supplied to Taco Bell in 5 states. Officials say the likely source of that cyclosporiasis outbreak is Taylor Farms iceberg lettuce from a farm in Mexico. All the companies potentially affected have removed the lettuce from their supply.
There are more than double the number of cases we see in a typical year, and we're only halfway through the season.
So, backing up a little bit, I think the internet was onto this before anybody else. Like they were the ones that
absolutely.
called out Taco Bell, and wasn't like 60% of the cases they could all trace back to Taco Bell. And Taylor Farms is the only supplier of the lettuce to Taco Bell. So
Yeah.
I if you're gonna eat Taco Bell, just avoid the lettuce. Avoid the Go ahead, Adam.
Did you say backing up? Am I frozen?
Yes, backing up.
No.
But anyway, so I think
Because I'm sure that a lot of people that eat Taco Bell would be very happy about that.
But I think the bigger part of the story was the
I'm
CEO
gonna
dumping some money
I'll
into
jump out and jump back
super
in.
PAC, and then all of a sudden, it was a false positive.
Right.
It just shows
that was in
again.
2025. They donated $1 million to Trump's MAGA PAC, and the internet again called that shit out. And I need to choose my words wisely here. But anyway, so this is just I'm sorry. But anyway, I mean, we're not gonna. We have to be really careful. I think the other thing, there are some suppliers that are known for organic, that are not in bags. Like I think the biggest thing is avoid bagged lettuce and any kind of lettuce from Taco Bell. Anyhow,
I think I would like to say the one good thing about this, and I put this in a thread. The one good thing about all this as a teacher and somebody that's invested in teaching people about politics, this has opened the eyes to a lot of people about how our food is made and how it's disseminated, where it comes from, why regulations are important, like the job of the government in like regulating food and companies because they don't regulate themselves. Hi, capitalism. So there was an excellent video on TikTok, and I tried to post it on Threads, but it's really long, so I'm gonna have to cut it up into like 3 cuts, and I just never got around to it. Sorry, but I'll do it again. And it's a farmer out in the Midwest talking about how they farm like multiple types of things, but for like chickens, they have like something like 16,000, I don't know, a crazy amount of chickens, right? And they are like 0.5% of the supplier of chickens in that state or something, right? Like, and that just goes to show you how much chickens need to be bought. And that's why like these big corporations get these massive farms, and then Chick-fil-A buys them from those massive farms. They need a lot of chicken, and these small farmers, it's not sustainable for them. So they've bought out all the farms. It's like, this is what happens when we keep giving tax benefits to these corporations and we don't make small businesses sustainable. So now not only are people witnessing like, oh wow, like the chicken that I buy at Walmart is the same as the chicken I buy at Whole Foods, like what the heck, right? They're learning that, but they're also starting to understand why it's so important that we diversify and that we do make small businesses and we do protect our farmers and things like that, which I don't think people really understood prior to this. They're like, oh, well, it's always better to just have things cheaper, right? Like ultimately, you're going to pay, and you're going to pay in the way of explosive diarrhea, apparently. So like, but it's a good lesson for everybody in terms of understanding our infrastructure.
A lot of English teachers are putting Upton Sinclair's The Jungle on their required reading list.
Yes.
There's a reason we have health inspections.
Meanwhile, did you guys catch this headline that I just quoted earlier this evening? FDA panel supports lifting restrictions on 4 peptides despite scientists' objection. So, explosive diarrhea, no problem. We're just going to keep on going.
Yeah,
I read there's
Spin that
also-
roulette wheel, people. Let's see how that goes.
I need people to understand that government regulates for a reason and not to be scared of it necessarily. Like, I need you to understand. Thank you. Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. That's what the government's job is to keep you safe. And the regulations
Not
are a
Trump's
part of
government.
that. So, right, I know. Republicans don't
Yeah.
believe this, is what I'm saying. They think that it's like treading on your rights. But I'm telling you that the whole reason we have a government is to keep us safe. And that doesn't include protecting us from wars, which obviously Republicans aren't doing because they're getting us into wars. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Go on.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to. Did y'all see the Hegseth hearings or see the clips from it? We're going to talk
Yes.
about that.
Speaking
That
of,
was-
speaking
that
of,
actually gave me life. I was very, I loved it. Let's do this short clip because a lot of people, this was just great. We'll talk about it on the other side.
And the word heard, I heard exactly
I will
what
tell
you
you
said.
how I use the
Heard
word
exactly
failure
what you
because
said.
I use the word failure to their leaders. You, sir, are the failure, not the men and women who are on that front line, not the men and women who hold up their honor with distinction. But if there's a lack of a winning strategy, they're in harm's way. Their leaders have failed them. And that's what's happening. We have political leadership. You don't have a strategy. You don't have a long-term plan to actually win this war. Win the war. The men and women are going to be able to do it, but they need to have leadership.
It was unbelievable. First of all, Hegseth is so out of his league. He's so, he is so in over his head. And he has this Fox News background. So he can make that face and say things clearly and do his like talking points, but they never make any sense and they're never like relevant. It's just like sort of like a very nice gaslighting. I don't know, but it was just, I was so impressed with so many of these senators.
Might I say it's word salad?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. That was one of my favorites. Did y'all see Ossoff?
Ossoff is phenomenal.
So good. I mean, he's like a master
Hold on,
class.
just
Like I don't
to-
know. Like even when I've seen him on like shows, he just has this very calm manner, and it's so
Deliberate.
great of a
Very
contrast.
deliberate.
Yeah, he's like cutting you up, and with a smile. And, not literally, but you know what I mean. So let's watch this one.
Stated
Very
that
long time.
on day 14 of this conflict, in the second week of the conflict, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Was that an accurate statement? Yes or no?
Iran's ability to challenge the United States of America at the level at which we're capable of.
That's not what
was
I asked you, Mr. Secretary. 3 weeks later, you declared victory. That was now nearly 4 months ago. 3 weeks after you'd already said Iran's military was destroyed and combat ineffective, you said, quote, Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory. You said Iran's military had been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come. And you stated we had, quote, achieved every single objective. Were those accurate statements?
It certainly was, on behalf of the men and women in uniform, a historic military victory over Iran.
Had
There are
Iran's
other-
military been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come? That was
they
a
had
statement that you made
160
4 months ago.
They had 160 naval vessels
You need
in
to
the
answer
Blue
the
Water
questions,
Navy,
Mr.
and they're gone.
Secretary.
Their
You
Air
said-
Force
you
is
said 4 months
completely
ago-
combat
you
ineffective, and they
said
don't
4
have a
months
defense
ago-
industrial base.
Excuse
So
me, Mr.
describe to me a
Secretary.
country that doesn't have an Air Force, a Navy, or a defense industrial base, and
Mr.
I will describe to
Secretary-
you a country that does not have an effective
Mr.
military.
Secretary, you
It
stated-
can lob missiles. Got
Mr.
it.
Secretary, you stated
missiles,
4
but it's
months
not a
ago
combat
that
effective
Iran's
military.
military had been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come. Has Iran's military been, for the last 4 months, combat ineffective?
It's been set back not just years, but likely decades.
You
considering
stated we
it
had,
can't
quote,
build at the
you
level it did
stated-
before, and not
you
even
stated
close. It
we
doesn't
had,
mean it
quote,
doesn't have capabilities.
Mr. Secretary, you stated we had, quote, achieved every single objective. Was that an accurate statement 4 months ago?
The main objective of this was to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Their main sites were obliterated. We're watching over them, and we're holding that issue. If they don't give them up at the table, there's other ways we can take them away.
Early in the conflict
Iran will
on
never
day
have a
3,
nuclear
Mr.
weapon.
Secretary, early in the conflict, day 3, you said one of those core objectives was to, quote, destroy the missile threat. And as you restated on day 5, to, quote, obliterate Iran's missiles and drones. Those were clearly and repeatedly stated core objectives of the campaign, which 4 months ago you declared had been completed victoriously with every single objective achieved. Were those objectives achieved 4 months ago?
No one ever stated that every single missile was gone. We never expected they would stop having capabilities to shoot.
So just to review, you will not answer whether your statement made on the 14th day of the war that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and made combat ineffective was a truthful statement to the American people as you sit here and ask for tens of billions more for the conflict.
Senator's time has
Had a
expired.
historic and effective military campaign against the largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Won't
and will
answer the
ensure they
question.
never
Senator
get a nuclear
Peters.
weapon.
Yeah, Susan Collins, it was the chair. I was not impressed with her, but I was impressed with a lot of the senators. You know, they Michelle pointed out earlier that they haven't given accurate numbers for the injured. Everyone thinks that they're much more than what they've reported. The other thing we haven't been having, not that I miss them, but we haven't had any briefings. We have not had briefings in, I think, a couple months. So, you know, they're not that proud of what they're doing. He was required to appear here. He thought he could gaslight. He thought he could do his, Mr. Fox News guy, and it was not working. And these senators were not having it. And, whoever confirmed him, they need to live with that.
Even Senator Kennedy on the Republican side, who shockingly used to be a Democrat, gave him a hard time, and he had problems answering questions from Republicans. So they also lied, of course, about the amount of money that they've spent. I think they claimed it was 37.5 billion. Multiple sources had it as 100 billion or more, and saying that was probably a conservative figure. Plus, we have very much depleted our own stock of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in every way, shape, and form, gas prices, prices of groceries and other goods, obviously the deaths and the wounded that we're suffering, in every which way, the Strait of Hormuz, every which way, this has been an absolute, utter disaster.
And
I think the fact that they're... Go ahead, Chris.
The really ghoulish truth from Trump about how, well, there have only been, I forget what it was at the time, 18 service members killed, and then comparing that to Afghanistan and Iraq and Vietnam and World War II, like as if that's a flex, as if, see, we only killed this many people, so far. And with, as Asaf was pointing out, no strategy, no clear objectives, no end game, no light at the end of the tunnel. And so it's going to be an infinite amount of money, and how many lives. And this is just our service members we're talking about. We're not also including all of the civilians that have been killed and all the infrastructure that's been destroyed and all the money that will take to rebuild. These aren't factored in. So this is just completely insane what they're doing.
It is. And I think the fact that we don't know much, there's not really honesty. Nobody can trust what the information we're being given, but yet he's coming to ask for 37.5 billion, or no, it's cost us 37.5 billion, but then they passed the bill. They passed the funding bill. How much was it, Chris? Do you remember?
1.5 trillion is what they wanted.
Yeah, and what did they get?
That hasn't passed yet, I don't think.
What's that?
I don't think that's passed yet.
I don't think it's passed yet.
I thought it passed yesterday in
the House.
I think maybe.
I think it did pass the House. But it hasn't.
Yeah. It hasn't passed the Senate.
There were 5 Democrats that even voted for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't think, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think all of these people that are wanting to pass this, they have to be held accountable, because it's not like, everyone is, even if you're not personally suffering in this economy, everybody's aware that this is like so problematic and it's costing us so much money. And it's kind of like on the backdrop of Trump's extravagance, Trump's, ballroom, Trump's, 4th of July over the top, firework explosions. the botched reflecting pool that now has to be redone, just all of these things. And it's just like, I want a running total. Like, when at the end of the day, like, I hope someone's doing an accounting. I don't know how much of this we could claw back. We mentioned last week that, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, that they've been funneling money from national parks receipts to pay for some of Trump's projects. Trump is not going through the proper channels, so he's just doing it. Nobody's stopping him. He's doing a helipad now. Well, we'll talk about all that later, but it's just kind of, it's really crazy.
The problem that we often have when we talk about defense spending is that there is this reverence for defense that there isn't for most other things, right? So in education, if I came to you and I said, well, you just don't understand because there's some industry standards in education that you just can't understand, people would be like, I don't care, sit down and explain it to me. Like, right? Like, there's like this demand for ultimate transparency, but because there's so much in defense that is considered top secret and you can't have clearances and you can't know this and you can't know that, they hide behind that. Republicans have done that masterfully since the Reagan era, right? I mean, before, but obviously, like, really, that it amped it up then. And so we've got, on top of everything else, we have an administration that isn't following any of the laws and rules. And then the people that would speak out against it, that have the knowledge, are the people that are in our military, in the system right now, and that will be, court-martialed or like what, like they're going to be brought up in charges if they speak out, because this administration, again, is not going to allow that kind of transparency. So the kind of people that would really provide that light and transparency don't have the ability to do that. So,
and there's the guilt factor of whenever anything is questioned in terms of money, it's, well, then you don't care about the troops.
That's right.
That's
exactly right.
Which he tried that shit yesterday when which senator was it? When they were saying that the war is a failure. Hegseth tried to flip it around that he was saying the troops are failing. And it's Trump and this whole ill-gotten war is a failure. And I think all of us can see that. They don't know what they're doing. And how many times has Trump gone back and forth on this war? Oh, we're winning. It's almost over. Iran wants to make a deal, or they made a deal, but they keep changing. I mean, I'm hearing that we're the ones that keep changing the deal. So who do you believe? Watch this other clip.
You're against this illegal law. This is against Iranian people, 90 million people. Your hands are bloody.
1.5 trillion.
Stop bombing our children in Iran and Palestine. This is illegal.
Mr. Secretary, please suspend until order is restored in the hearing room. We will begin the timing clock.
Long-term strategic dominance cannot be funded through one-off supplementals.
Veterans, call for end to this war right now.
Simple logic.
I'm watching people literally die, rationing their insulin.
I would ask that the Capitol Police, whose professionalism I admire, remove those who are seeking to disrupt the hearing.
I mean, I approve of that. The fact that they're, disrupting and protesting there. I don't know what y'all think, but bring it.
Well, this is where it's people have come around to, I think, the idea that two things can be true. You can see the Iranian regime as bad, and you can also see that us starting a war of choice and killing thousands of civilians is also bad. And this, I think, is what needs to keep happening, is this: we are not at war with this country for any logical reason, and we are killing innocent people for, again, no reason. And it needs to be bundled into Hegseth crimes as well. We have just completely stopped talking about all of the fishermen that he just murdered in Venezuelan boats that he said were drug traffickers, and we didn't get any evidence to that, and nothing was ever done. When all of this comes out, when finally we get the truth from behind the scenes, that this man is a war criminal.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of interesting that the last protester there, that one that's currently on the screen that was dragged out, was chanting healthcare, not warfare. I think that was trending yesterday on Twitter, was it not?
It was.
Christopher?
It was trending. A lot of us jumped in on that. And, you know, she's right. This is a lot of people keep coming back to that. We can afford everything, but we can't afford healthcare. We can't afford to fund things that people desperately need. In fact, we're taking it away. We're doing the opposite. We're taking away healthcare. Like that's what's happening in Medicaid across the country, with Medicaid across the country, which we will get into.
Segue.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's it all connects.
It all does. It's all in shambles. It really is. Listen to this exchange with the Joint Chief. This was interesting also.
Tolls on the strait.
I don't know, sir. That's a decision that's a hypothetical and will depend on what happens
It's not
in the future.
hypothetical. We've got a blockade to stop them.
We do, sir. That's
General,
putting
I want you
economic
to look me in
pressure
the
on
eye.
Iran.
I'm not asking you for, I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I know your advice to the president is private, but this is serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke. Now, what happens
Foghorn Leghorn is correct.
if we come home
Which you can't afford to
and end
have, but
blockade
okay.
to the world?
Sir, Iran has the potential to continue to be a threat, and we will need to prepare military
Will they
options to
toll
do
the
that.
strait?
Sir, that's a hypothetical question, and I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, it's not hypothetical. We come home. It's not going to be hypothetical. You know that, General, and I do too. And I appreciate your discretion, but we're down to it. We need some hard answers and some straight talk. What'll happen, Pete?
Senator, I would agree with the chairman, but the likely outcome is they would try to impose their will on the waterways in ways that the world would not like. Call it a toll, call it a fee, call it an exchange, call it control. They would do something that they would try to hold it at issue. Yes, sir.
Would they try to commence development again of a nuclear warhead?
Part of the reason President Trump had to have the courage to do what he did after Midnight Hammer is that they didn't give up their ambitions even though their nuclear sites had been obliterated. So this is a regime hell-bent on nuclear ambitions, and
Guys,
President Trump's
we need
been willing to
straight
go after
answers. We need straight answers. Do we have the ability to destroy whatever is underneath Pickaxe Mountain?
Senator, a lot of our capabilities are classified, but if anybody in the world can reach anything on God's green earth, it's the United States military, the most powerful military in the world. It's all about options and trade-offs.
Didn't they already claim they destroyed their nuclear capabilities?
Last
Meanwhile, we found
summer.
out later it's pretty much the same as before this war started. So, you know, this is all bullshit. I don't like Kennedy, but I do appreciate his questions here.
Stop making me agree with him.
That's just what I'm saying. Like, you need to stop. I almost agreed with Laura Loomer the other day, and I was like, again, I hate it when I'm on the same page as her. It doesn't the whole universe feels off its axis or whatever. This is I can't even watch these. We need to stop normalizing. This is absurd. Yesterday I wrote a post about the fact that he went to Princeton and Harvard, and I was like, we need to start calling their Ivies up to the front to explain themselves. I want to see these applications, because what do you fucking mean with this? What do you mean? I don't believe that. Now somebody said, oh, but you don't have to be smart to get into an Ivy League institute. I'm like, some of them you do. Some of them aren't just legacy buy-ins. I don't buy that. But even still, then you still have to account, even more so, why you should have to account for this man being our problem. Everybody, it's just we should start laying the accountability with the people who made them, their parents, their churches, their universities. And I'm so done watching these. This is absurd. Can you imagine if you acted like this at your job? If you had a review and someone called you in and this is the mess that you were this is an acting job. I literally thought, I was thinking about this. This could be from a movie where you're spoofing what actual government should be. Not just Idiocracy. I mean, actually someone's acting, because that's not a real person. That's a soap opera villain. Like, that's what that is. And that's now become the person that's running our defense. And people are just like, well, yeah, I guess. What do you guess? Get to the polls and fix this. This is absurd. This is so embarrassing. And I'm embarrassed for our troops. I'm embarrassed for the people that have already died and given their lives for this country. And we should be embarrassed. We should be talking about that over and over and over, because they're bulldozing all of our monuments to this democracy, just as they're bulldozing our democracy. And there's not enough people saying, we're not going to do this. Like, laughing, like, yes, laugh at that, because that's ridiculous, and then vote them out.
You can
know
tell
who's happy
by
with this war? Russia is happy with this war. For their China is another one. So
there's such a stark contrast between the general's testimony and Hegseth's testimony in terms of their body language, their tone of voice, their seriousness. And I agree with Casey that Hegseth is performing for cameras, and that is all he is trained to do.
That's all he's trained to do. And it's really, I think that's what Trump wants. Like, Trump hired him because he fits the part. It's Fox News casting. And you could look at that for a lot of his administration. Fox News casting. And I think Hegseth should be like one of the top ones to go, but I think he would be one of the last. Personally, I just don't see him, unless Trump thought it was going to save his ass in some way. And I don't think he thinks he needs to get rid of him. I think Hegseth is here. I'm not saying he's going to last 4 years. But
I don't know. It depends. We'll see. Like, it depends on how high the heat turns up, right? Like, and what that looks like. And because this was pretty embarrassing. Like, this did not go off well for Republicans, and I know that they often look this ridiculous, and that's why it's so insufferable and awful. But I think this really was. I was sort of perusing the channels of Republicans, and I think when you start to see them kind of go quiet on stuff, right, where they're not even trying to bother to like say no, he's great, they just don't say anything. That's when like they're having conversations in back rooms about like, oh, that didn't go over really well. So I don't know. Like, I just feel like it depends on how much pressure the Democrats put and Republicans put on them going forward, whether or not Trump will cut him loose and use him as a scapegoat. Right? Like, they're priming J.D. Vance for that. They do that with him too.
Yeah.
So, by the way, does Chris Q agreeing with Casey mean that he also indirectly agrees with Laura Loomer on some things? For the clarification.
Well, as with the next topic, yes, I think I do agree with Laura Loomer on this topic.
Segue king.
Good job.
Right, so on that note, another big story this week and last week and for the past over a month, has been Mitch McConnell is MIA. What should we start off with? Because we got a lot of content here. Should we start off with what we think is going on with him, like what our theories are, or should we just jump into?
He's dead.
I don't think he's dead. I think he's on life support.
I don't think so either.
I think he's on life support.
I think he's probably technically dead. I think he's probably brain dead.
Well, I think without life support, he would be
which is dead. So I reiterate, I think he's dead.
Yeah. I don't know that it matters. So this is like where I stand on this. And I think saying he's dead or saying he's for all intents and purposes dead actually is fine, because ultimately he is incapacitated in a way where he cannot serve the people of Kentucky. And that is what is important about this. And what is important is that the Republicans are shielding him from that, from having to answer to that. And that should inform you of something. If the Republicans are intentionally trying to evade something, there is a reason for that. They are calculated in what they do. And so they believe, and now the next part is my opinion. Everything I've said so far, I think is pretty factual and pretty accurate. Going forward, I live here in DC, and I go to George Washington Hospital. That's where I gave birth to my children. That's where I've done a lot of procedures. My doctors are there. And that part where they say that he is at, where a lot of people have gone and said, oh, the Secret Service are waiting here, right? That is not a rehabilitation facility.
Right.
That is
just
not-
pause for a second. So the word was after they gave us that photo with the red checkered shirt that he was at a rehab facility and that, that's where that photo of that chair. But a lot of people are saying he never left George Washington, and that is not a rehab facility. So
not only is
as you said,
not only is it not
very young, like
not only is it not a rehab facility, I want to be clear here. That's not even where you would go do treatments. That's where you go get surgery, you give birth, and that's like it. Okay, like you go, like you would go do like an endoscopy there.
Pregnant? Is that where we're going?
Anything that you need, anything where you would need a way to put you under, like anesthesia or a ventilator. But anything else, they're going to transfer you because there's like a bunch of different. GW Hospital is not just one thing. This is a city we're talking about. So it spans multiple blocks. And I know this because I have been sent to one and then had to somehow in rush hour traffic get like 8 blocks away in a car. Okay. Like it's not great. So I know that it's not all in one spot. And I know that hospital in particular, he would only be there if he were like on life support. He would not be there for any other reason. They would have moved him. And so they're either lying to you about that rehab facility, or they're lying to you about his condition, like how significant it is, which I think that that's the case. And I think that it's all because they understand that it's either going to incite a constitutional crisis because they don't really have an explanation for what to do when someone's heart is still beating, but their mind is not.
And the fact that they've been lying for weeks.
And they've been lying from the beginning. And I really think that the reason that they didn't just out this in the beginning is because of that special election date. I think that they believe at this point, the people who matter have decided, and they like, because again, I put this in my Substack, Republicans are really good at stepping back and reflecting when they are not doing well and when they have losses. Now, they don't necessarily do anything to help you, right? They're going to lie and manipulate their way through it, but they step back and honestly discuss with themselves. They don't talk to you about it. They go back in the back rooms and they talk about like, how did we lose that election? Why did we lose that election? And they fix it. And they fix it by lying to you and manipulating. That's the bad part, right? But I think that they know that they're under threat right now. They see that they are deeply unpopular and that this seat that they have could be lost. It could absolutely be lost and it could be snatched right out of their hands. That's what they would be doing to us. And that is what they know. And they are worried that this might end up in the courts because it's a Democratic governor and that they're not 100% sure they're going to win. And because they're not 100% sure they're going to win, even if they think they're 90% sure that they're going to win, because they're not 100% sure, they are holding back on this because they just got to get past that special election deadline and then the seats can stay open until the actual November election. And they think they can buy themselves some more time and maybe pass the SAVE Act. There's a lot of things that they can do between now and November that might make them.
Which was also in that bill that the House just passed.
Right?
Let's watch this clip from this news clip, and it has some information from Beshear in here.
Senator Andy Beshear says he received calls from 2 different agencies suggesting U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell had died before his release from the hospital back on July 12th. The governor spoke on Katie Couric's YouTube channel and said the lack of public information about McConnell's condition was part of what fueled widespread speculation during the month-long period. McConnell provided an official update earlier this week with a picture, but Beshear said it was weeks too late.
Well, Mitch McConnell's boss are the people of Kentucky. There are constituents which deserve honesty and transparency. It had been a month before anything had been put out, not even an official statement from Senator McConnell. In fact, I'd gotten 2 calls from different agencies, not state agencies, suggesting he'd passed. So this rampant speculation that was out there, it needed to end. People deserve to know what was going on.
Governor Beshear did not identify the agencies or provide any other details about those calls. There is currently no time frame for when the senator will return to the Capitol.
What do you guys think about this? Because I have a problem with the fact that Beshear is saying 2 agencies told him he was dead, but then some of the news, like this sounds like that's it, right? Some of the news reporting was that it was false. It was false information that he was dead. Andy Beshear will not say which agencies told him that. I just think that's a hell of a bomb to drop with very little meat on the bones. Maybe that was strategy. I don't know, but I don't love that. I think, you know, what do you got to lose? Be forthcoming. Be honest. Like, what?
I think
give us some
the
more-
biggest loser in all of this is Andy Bashir.
I think so. I think people so the reformers have been talking about this for like a week or so. Like, come on, get off, you know, shit or get off the pot. And I haven't been like coming for Andy Bashir in my post, but a lot of my followers, a lot of the people in replies are done. They're like, this man wants to run for president in theory. Good luck. Like,
game's not over yet, right?
He may not be able to act. He could make that argument, but I'm going to play another clip too after you say what you got to say here. But he keeps repeating the same thing. Go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
Yeah, game's not over yet. I mean, it's July 23rd, right? You got to call the special election before August 3rd, so he still has some time. Although I will say I'm a little surprised that we haven't had some intrepid reporter try to figure out how to get in there, don some scrubs and like a bad movie plot and take a picture of Mitch McConnell and see exactly what's going on.
I know this would be a violation, but I was saying to Casey earlier, where are the nurses spilling the beans and want to get paid? Where is TMZ?
Right. This is why I said I just don't know, because I have been to that hospital and everyone's like, oh, well, it's really
supposedly there's security. You can't right now. All right.
I'm just saying, if somebody wanted to, they would. And I think it's been so long, they could have. And I stand by this, which is what I said before. If this were you at your job, you would have been fired, because Republicans are taking away protections for you and workplace protections for you, and also healthcare for you. So you not only would you not have your job to come back to, but you wouldn't be able to afford what you need to pay to get yourself well. And yet this man, there he is on his insider trading, monies, our taxpayer dollars, paying for him to go get healthcare, and he's not being transparent about that because he knows his job is safe. And we don't have those same protections. So that kind of hypocrisy should be highlighted. And absolutely at no point should Democrats be allowing Republicans to dictate the terms here, because they have proven that they do not have the capacity to do that. Andy Bashir, in my opinion, could push a little harder. It doesn't mean he has to necessarily call the special election, but I think he could have, especially early on, whipped the news media into a frenzy. I think he could have used his executive platform. The idea that Democrats don't have power as the minority party is absurd. These people have social media and platforms. The bully pulpit is a thing for everyone at this point when you have an office with like an existing social media presence. And by the way, this is salacious stuff. This is like TMZ level gossip, okay? People love talking about this. Use that to your advantage. Like, make people go, where the hell is Mitch McConnell? Like, what's going on? Like, right? You have that power. And that's where my criticism ends for him. Like, it's just simply, I think that this is the way most Democrats have operated, which is from a place of respect and reverence for government. Unfortunately, we have to move and evolve past that now, because that's not what's going to be best for the American people if we just sit back and let Republicans dictate.
I think we should also be very clear that we're all aware of the laws in Kentucky.
Yeah.
The fact that the state we talked about this on our last slide. The state legislature put laws in place that basically strips the governor's power. However, that is in conflict with the state constitution, which was not amended. And so this is the point that Andy Bashir has been making, but he keeps making that point. Do something about it. Like, call them out. Like, he does have some powers as governor. So can he call a special election? Probably not. But he can do more than just talk about this. Let's watch this other clip, because he makes this point himself.
Kentucky Senate succession laws have changed twice in the last several years, in large part because Republicans didn't want a Democratic governor like you appointing a successor if Senator McConnell ever left office. I was just talking to Senator Chris Coons. So what does, and he asked me to ask you this, but
I want to pause for a second. I want to say one more thing. we got to put laws in place. You cannot be employed as in Congress and disappear for a month. Like this is like without something more official than this. Like people going on,
Tom Keene Jr. in New Jersey.
Exactly. Like I don't care if it's a medical. Like we have to have more than
Tom Keene.
We have to have more than nothing. It is not fair to people they're using our federal tax dollars to give them the benefits, give them the salary. This it keeps happening. So it's not okay.
What does that mean if, in fact, Mitch McConnell is incapacitated?
So our state legislature has become so overly partisan with a Republican supermajority that I had to get a Supreme Court opinion saying they can't take all the duties of a governor and give it to an agriculture commissioner. This idea that we were just empty vessels they'd move around. And originally it could start partisan, right? We're going to give it to a Republican, but then it could have gone, we're going to give it to whoever will do what we want, which breaks down that separation of powers. And we've seen in DC what happens when one branch can't or won't, or two branches can't or won't do their jobs. So they've passed not one, but two laws. They're so scared of me being able to fill a vacancy. But here's what they haven't looked at, and I admit it hasn't been tested. There's a section of Kentucky's Constitution, I think it's 152, and it says that a governor has the appointment power to fill vacancies of offices elected statewide. The question is, does that apply to a federal office? Well, before there was ever a statute that the Republican majority could change or not change, Kentucky governors made appointments. And that constitutional provision was the only thing in writing at the time.
So what does that mean?
Well, it means that if we reach a vacancy, I think a lot of options are on the table, and I'll look at all of them.
What are y'all thinking?
I don't think there's a downside at all. Okay. Everybody that's come to me and said, oh, but you don't understand. First of all, I'm a political scientist. Back the fuck up. I'm pretty tired of people just assuming I don't know what's going on. Like I'm over that. All right. We can just disagree. Like I can know what your laws are. And I can also just say, hey, like maybe like there is some room. And based on the way the Republicans are operating and based on everything we have to lose, I think it makes more sense to do this. And that's where I'm at with this is I have listed all the different reasons. And I still think at the end of the day, the American people are so hungry for a party that's going to fight back against this authoritarian fascism that even if they lost, the people would stand up and cheer. And actually, I'd say if they lost, more people might come out to vote because they're like, absolutely not. People don't like underdogs losing. They don't like it when a bully takes on somebody that's trying to do like watch the movie Rudy. Like, did nobody watch this movie? Like people are gonna root for you, even if you're mediocre, but you keep showing up every day, right? Like, and you have heart. I'm serious. They don't like what's happening right now. And that's why we're seeing in our channels, in our social medias, that's why we're seeing so many people upset with Andy Beshear. And because it's not just that he's doing badly, it's just that he's there. He's like a vanilla white wall. And people are like, no. Like, well, that's not, we're not going to, like, that's why the polls keep showing Democrats, we're like a shadow. If you, like I said, on an axis, if you put the axis up and you put Republicans tanking, the Democrats are like up here, like a little bit higher, like, right? They're following the same pathway because people are frustrated.
He was doing well until the last part. And the last part should have been, and I believe that gives me the ability to appoint. And when the vacancy occurs, I will appoint. And I will appoint the person that I think is best for the job, period.
Yes.
And put the ball in their court. You have to prove that he's alive and that he's capable. So that should have been his next thing, but he backed away. And I don't understand that there's legal and then there's strategic. And the strategic part is all but lost on him. That exactly what Casey said. We want fighters right now. And what he just showed was some Merrick Garland energy in dealing with this problem.
Yes. That's a really good analogy.
And I think the thing is, like, Republicans all day would be doing more than this. And I think I do have a question though. There isn't technically a vacancy, so he can't really appoint anyone.
And that's fine.
Can he go to court to force a vacancy? Like do something else. Like Republicans haven't called a vacancy. They're not going to. This is why they're letting this lie. But Andy Bashir is on these talk shows or podcasts, but maybe something's going on behind the scenes, but I haven't heard about it. But like, go the next step. Take your legislature to court, or do something. I don't know.
In terms of the Senate, the only way a senator can be removed is by a 2/3 vote of the Senate itself.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about the legality of it, that's the legality of it. But again, that is irrelevant because right now we're fighting in the public discourse.
Do something like that's
There's
all I'm saying.
So many options. There's so many.
You may lose, but even losing is a win if you get off your ass.
And talk about it. That's the other thing is it's like they fall back on this kind of place of neutrality and like the established way, as if we have not evolved to a place where a president's just knocking down buildings. Like we are not in Obama era anymore. We are in 2026 with a party that is fine walking out on the ledge of what's legal and not legal, and they're gonna flirt with it all damn day long. And we have to be doing the same thing where we say, well, we're on the side of democracy, so let's go do this, right? And if we lose some, that's fine. Instead of we keep playing to not lose instead of playing to win. And what keeps happening is now we're losing because of that, right? Like because we're so cautious about what we're doing, we're not taking any risks, and Republicans keep taking risks. So all they got to do is hit a few ones, and then they're good. I also do want to mention, because I think it's worth noting, I know the Democratic Party is a different party than the Republican Party. And I know that the Republican Party has advantages that the Democrats don't have, right? But it wasn't always that way, number one. And number two, even with those advantages, especially with those advantages, this is where creativity and risk play into that. This is where bravery and tenacity come into play, showing up every single day, not being afraid to fail, and so not letting perfection be the enemy of progress. And moving through with that, I fear that we've gotten to a place where we are so worried about keeping the little, slim, we're not even in the majority. I was going to say the majority, the slim margins that we have, that we're going to lose the possibility to take more. Somebody said to me today, well, Republicans want to shoot themselves in the foot. Why don't you let them? And I said, baby, I don't want the foot. I want both legs. What do you mean? Why are we stopping at the foot? Why are we stopping at the foot? So they have 51 votes? What? Why? I want more than that. Stop. Anyway, so that's, I acknowledge.
Let's say you force a vote in the Senate. Let's say you forced a vote in the Senate to expel Mitch McConnell, right? And all the Republicans are going to vote to retain him. Fine. You then get to campaign from now until Election Day that all of these Republicans voted to keep a dead man in a seat instead of giving the people of Kentucky representation.
Right.
Hire Chris is your strategist. Hire Chris.
And frankly, wouldn't it be at least a small measure of justice for Andy Bashir to replace, of all people, Mitch McConnell, the man that refused to hold a hearing after the death of Antonin Scalia and refused to let Merrick Garland have his day before the Senate for confirmation?
This is why we should have no shame. We should have no shame.
That's Shakespearean right there. That's great stuff.
So I need you all to watch this other clip.
Duration, that was an English major.
I hope I'm not butchering his name, so I'm going to put his name in the chat, but Nicholas Belalzi is walking the halls of Congress and asking.
Yeah, he's doing good work.
He is. So watch this clip.
Can you tell us what you think about McConnell's absence? Do you think he needs to put out a video instead of just a photo? What's your position on the term limits issue? Do you think the McConnell issue says anything about term limits? We're talking to members about this whole McConnell situation.
Yeah.
Do you think he's put out enough information? Some people are saying he should put out a video. And what do you think it says about the issue of age limits? That's what people are talking about for members of Congress.
No, I don't know anything about McConnell's health because I know zero. I'm totally in the dark. At a certain point, you have an obligation to your constituents in the country to tell them what's going on. So I
Leave
can't
it
do
to
that
Josh
for
Hawley.
him. I have
Don't
zero
make
idea.
me agree with
I
him.
don't have any idea about any of his health stuff. But I hope he recovers. But I also hope that they get the transparency out there and tell people, what the situation is.
And what do you think about age limits or a mandatory
Well,
retirement age?
I'm a term limit guy.
Wanted to ask you about age limits for lawmakers. Do you think that needs to be enacted? Some are calling for it because of what's going on with McConnell.
Amazingly enough, folks didn't call for that when you had Dianne Feinstein. Look, I'd like to see limits on everybody, and the best limit would be term limits, and that's what we should pass. I've authored a constitutional amendment that would limit all senators
Oh, that's right.
to 2
He's a
terms,
Tea
limit
Party
all
guy,
House
remember.
members to 3 terms.
That's right.
An overwhelming majority of Americans support that, and that would solve the problem effectively because you wouldn't have people staying here forever.
Watch this guy.
Can I ask you what you think about people saying that McConnell should put out a video?
So that's McConnell's communications advisor. I did the labels here, but follow. What is his name? Nicholas. He's on X. I don't know if he's on Threads. Is he on Threads?
I haven't seen him on Threads.
He's on X.
I
Follow him.
haven't seen him.
He's putting out these clips, and what's great is not only is he walking the halls, they're actually talking to him. They're actually giving him more feedback than I'm seeing from CNN reporters. So I think he's doing great work here.
Y'all, please don't make me go back to the Senate and do this.
But I just agreed with Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz.
Please don't.
I need to.
I know. But listen, Josh Hawley, that's normal. That's par for the course. Josh Hawley is one of those people that makes you feel real bad about life because he comes back on a regular basis. He's like, let's say no to insider trading. Let's do term limits. And then he's like, let's take away all access to reproductive health care. And you're like, what the fuck? It's like, that's what it is. He's like, he really is a coward. And he doesn't even live in his state. So we shouldn't even be talking about him right now. But anyway, Josh Hawley's a mess. I feel like this is exactly what we need to see from people. And when people say, well, what do you want Bashir to do? Show up with camera? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Fly to DC and show up with cameras. Yes.
Yes.
Or send somebody. Send a bunch of people. Yes. I want you to do that. Call for volunteers. At this point, I don't want to do it, but if you told me, hey, Casey, I need you to go down with a bunch of other people and start holding signs and talking about stuff, I would take my camera and my tripod again. I was at the Senate last week. I'll do it again. I don't want to, but I will. I mean, if you need
Casey,
me to.
I need you to go down to the Senate and maybe to the hospital where Mitch McConnell is, and take your camera and see what you can find out.
Take my scrubs and go in there.
You hold like a vigil at the hospital. Right? A 24-hour vigil at the hospital.
Put the baseball under my shirt.
That's not a bad idea, Chris,
honestly, if you go places and act like you belong, people
100%.
do not stop you. I'm going to tell a quick story because I will never forget this. In LA, we had an entertainment reporter called Lonnie Lardner. And I want to say this is 15, 20 years ago. And she was live on the air. She would do all the entertainment segments on Fox, our local Fox news station. This is back before we knew about Trump. And they were talking about shoplifting. Who was the actress that got caught shoplifting?
Winona Ryder
at Saks Fifth Avenue. So Lonnie Lardner admitted, she says, I used to shoplift. She goes, I used to shoplift all the time. The only time I got caught, she goes, you walk out of the store with pillows on your head, nobody stops you. You could walk out of the store with a chair, nobody stops you. The only time she got stopped was when she, was looking guilty. And she was never seen again. I have never heard from her again. She was on every day. They got rid of her. But if you look like you belong and you don't give eye contact, just keep on walking.
I forget who said it, but it was if you walk into any place with a ladder, you can go anywhere.
Yeah. And a ladder and a tool belt.
Hey, as a lawyer wearing a suit, I used to go into places and never anybody would ever stop me, and I would just say, "White guy with a suit, white guy with a suit, you're good."
Superpower.
So I put this shot up. Someone anyone want chips? That account, they put this up, and I think this is such a great point because when Lloyd Austin was missing for a few weeks or something, 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Republicans lost their shit for days and days and days. And they're just really chill about, Mitch McConnell, very real. I mean, this is actually serious. I mean, we're making fun, but the fact that he is MIA from the Senate, and also he wasn't looking great before he went to the hospital. The reporting is that he was unconscious. Then he was taken out of a very slow moving ambulance, no rush, and he's been missing ever since. And then we get this very clearly fake photo, of proof of life of him looking mighty good in a hospital, looking better than he did the last time we saw him.
Look at that six face from 2 terms ago. 2 terms ago.
So,
Come on.
And if he looks that good, why is he still in the hospital, for God's sake?
That's what I keep saying. If he looks that good, why can't he live stream to us?
So I think the point of that video we just showed was there are a lot of Republicans, when they're being honest, they're like, I don't know.
I'm sorry,
shit.
when they're being what?
When they're being honest, when they don't think they're, I don't know. I don't know the reason, but they were honest there. They're not honest in a hearing. They're not honest on Fox News, but in that hallway, for whatever reason, they were speaking truth, and they don't know where he is. That's the bottom line. They don't know. If they knew he was okay and just recovering, if they had 20-minute phone calls, they would say.
Here is what I'm going to say. There's we have a couple different calls to action, but one that I didn't put in the actual main one. And I'm going to keep reiterating to you. I put it in my videos. If you have a Republican senator, you need to be on the phone with that senator from your state, demanding that they inquire what the hell is going on with Mitch McConnell, and say that you can pretend to be a Republican and be like, this is embarrassing for our party. I don't what is going on, because let me tell you who came out and asked about it. Do you know who did? And I forgot to send you the clip. Tommy Tuberville. Do you know why? Tommy Tuberville's running for governor.
Really?
So he's like, well, how do I explain this shit? So he's like, yeah, we should know what's going on, right? People are starting to say things because they're going to get pressure from constituents or from people in circles asking questions. So the more that you pressure, and this is what I'm talking about when I say Democrats need to do the work, that they should be leading us in challenging us to contact people and saying, where is Mitch McConnell? Because that's half of your representation in the Senate gone for the next 6 months if they, bypass this special election. So,
well, to be
call
fair,
your Congress members. And
to be fair, Tommy
senators.
Tuberville has trouble finding his one brain cell, but that's a different matter, I guess.
That's what I'm saying, though. If he's the one out on, if Tommy Tuberville's, you're in trouble, right? This is my favorite.
That's just so wrong.
We don't really have Tate Brothers content, but that's our one and only. So this also happened. McConnell's hometown newspaper publishes a obituary.
This was rough.
I didn't read that. I heard about it though.
Great.
Y'all can go look for it because it's on.
It is excoriating. It is bad in the best ways. It's bad in a great way.
Yeah.
As you should. And I write a thread every single time he gets sick and people get mad at me because they think he's actually dead this time. And I remind everybody of the Merrick Garland timeline. And I go through and explain the whole thing because I don't think people understand how significant it was that this man single-handedly, I mean, really, he was the one out in the forefront of this, prevented that seat from being filled for over a year. Now, Merrick Garland's appointment wasn't more than a year because it couldn't be because obviously Obama left office. But the seat itself, that Supreme Court seat, stayed open for over a year. It was 400 days. That is not somebody who gives a shit about this country. You don't leave the Supreme Court open with they don't have a majority at that point. It's 4-4. 4-4. There were so many tie decisions that year. I don't even remember what we did that year.
I mean, we'll make this point when we're talking about court reform, but that emphasizes that there's no constitutional number for Supreme Court justices. So
that's right.
There's no reason it has to stay with 9.
But just reminding everybody that this is not a man that served this country. This man served himself and his agenda and what this current administration is also doing. So it needs to be said. Oh, and his wife, I pointed this. I forgot to send you. I don't know if you have the TMZ picture, but like the wife leaving the quote unquote rehab facility. That's
Did y'all see it where
back-grid.
she's in a trench coat and a mask?
And that's it. There's no video.
Yeah.
They're not confronting her. It's just a picture, and it's by back-grid. And those are the people you call when you want them to show up and photograph you somewhere. Anybody that's from LA and knows how Hollywood works knows this. This is what back-grid does. So somebody absolutely paid them to show up and take a picture of her there so that could then be leaked and look like, oh, somebody caught her leaving the rehab facility. That's on purpose. That's
in
intentional.
100-degree weather in a trench coat.
That's right. Yeah.
And to be clear, are we all on board with term limits?
Yes.
I am strongly on board.
At least.
Pluses and minuses. It's pluses and minuses.
All right,
I am on board.
Generally, I
Tell, me,
think so,
tell
yeah.
me the minuses, because I know the pluses.
Of what? Of Supreme Courts or of Mitch McConnell's?
All of the above.
I don't think you
They're
should be in
asking
the
Adam.
business of life appointments, for one. Like, I just don't
Yeah,
see why.
no, I agree.
People live too long nowadays. And especially if you have money, they can keep you alive. As we're seeing with Trump, they can keep you alive indefinitely. So that's my one argument right there. There should be no lifetime appointments. As far as term limits, I think it's got to be I don't care, either term limits or age limits. I don't think you should be near death in Congress. It just does not serve me as a voter.
I agree with unfortunately Ted Cruz again. I think the term limits is the way to go.
Very close to Laura Loomer, Chris.
I know.
Very close.
The term limits is the way to go, because then you don't get into the unfortunate situation of any kind of age discrimination, or there are different 70-year-olds. There are different 80-year-olds.
Very
And so
true, but they don't
if
care
you-
about an airplane pilot if they have a set age. Same thing with air traffic controllers. Set
If
age.
you-
That's a little bit of a different
think
story
it's-
because there's
Chris-
physical
yeah.
abilities that you have to have.
Chris and I are on the same page today. If you do one, it will take
it takes care of the other. And if you're worried about institutional knowledge, I will absolutely give you that. You can't have people turning over every year and not having that institutional knowledge. However, if you kept it at something like, 4 terms in the Senate and, 10 or 15 terms in the House or something, like, you're still talking about something that is
4
like
terms in the Senate. That's
way
too
too
long.
long. Serve your country and move the fuck.
But even if you were to start there or something, you're talking about like a full career of somebody normally, like a full working age career. So if you couldn't even get people on board for that, then like I think that's the way you frame it is, and especially if you frame it like we were talking about, this ties in with Graham Plattner, that like the Senate shouldn't be your first job ever.
Never,
right?
Ever, never. Yeah.
So there's a really good way to say 2 or 3 terms in the Senate. That sounds good. 12 to 18 years, because you've already done X, Y, and Z before that. So I think there's a good case to be made for you can balance institutional knowledge with not having people stay forever.
Let me tell you, people don't want to talk about this, but if you got rid of insider trading options, if you got rid of stock trading, that would also limit that would absolutely, if you made their salaries and their support
Their only source of income.
equitable to teachers, you would see a dramatic changeover in terms of who was volunteering and who is staying to serve. And I've said this for a long time. You need to make that position like something that is truly what it's meant to be, which is civic service. So take out the financial incentives. Obviously, we can't do all of that until we overturn Citizens United, but like we can start by preventing them from trading stocks. And Josh Hawley is one of the people leading the charge on that, along with AOC and a few other people. So anyway, like I just want to point that out. If you take away their incentives, they're not going to stay.
I just put this up because I don't know what the motivation for this was. I think
it was somebody that posted it in satire.
This was a joke.
Because I don't think it was proof of life at all.
This was
There's
a joke
so
the whole
problems
time.
with this one. I never heard what this.
This was a comedian.
But I used it because I was like,
a lot of people ran with it, and that's my point. Like, be careful.
As you should.
Yeah.
You should run with it because you should say this is how ridiculous they both look. This ridiculous. Like that's how the first one looked. So like you should run with that and just embarrass them.
Yeah.
I think personally.
All right. So moving on from Mitch McConnell, moving to our like train wreck of a president here. So, every week there's always some shit going on, right? There's, we know how our South Lawn has been looking. Now he's doing a helipad on it. And I have a better shot of that. I don't have it right now. But without any permissions, he just started building it. Supposedly, who's paying for it? Somebody, was it Northrop? Somebody else is paying for it.
We're paying for it, Chris.
We are in the end, but he's claiming someone else. We're paying for all this shit.
Right.
We're paying for all of it, but he's claiming someone else is paying for it. Then last week we talked about Qatari Force One flew in, but didn't fly him out. So he went back to the old Air Force One. Now he's on camera saying, "Oh, we're going to have it maxed out," because it came out that the reporting was that it didn't have sufficient security. It didn't have the rockets and things, defense systems that the previous Air Force One had. So now we spent like, didn't we spend $500 million trying to upgrade this thing? And now we're going to
they reported like 400 million or something, but who knows?
Too much. It's still too much, right? And only for something that he's going to take with him in 2 years, because this was the contract that was signed. So he gets this as his personal jet. Now I don't know. I mean, I guess he's fleeced enough money where he can afford to operate it after. I don't believe this is going to be just for his library.
Well, I forgot if we talked about this before too, but the whole idea of having the two planes is that they're identical.
Right.
And so the fact that he insisted on this plane, which is not the same model as the old Air Force One, and the Trump paint job puts a giant target on this plane, because of course he's going to want to fly the super fancy one. So where typically they take two everywhere and you don't know which one the president's on, now you obviously know which one the president's on. So just by virtue of it being unique, you have compromised the president's security.
Meanwhile, did you all see the denouement of the ancillary story? I'm really taking out the thesaurus now. Story on this reporting about the subpoena that they served on the New York Times reporters that reported this very story.
Yeah,
they dropped it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now
that was dropped though.
It was dropped.
It was dropped.
It was dropped apparently because the judge threatened them by saying, DOJ, either you drop these subpoenas or I will quash them, which will be even more embarrassing for you. Quashing, if you're not familiar, is what happens when a judge says, no, these subpoenas are invalid.
It was all because he was embarrassed.
It was all because he was embarrassed. But you know who it was that approved these subpoenas, right? Jay Clayton, under Todd Blanche's authority. So it all circles back. Jay Clayton, the guy who embarrassed himself by subpoenaing reporters, and it wasn't just the reporters, it was the reporters' spouses, it was one reporter's mother, for God's sakes. I mean, this is just authoritative beyond belief, authoritarian stuff. And this guy who wants to be the DNI approved it. And Todd Blanche, who wants to be the attorney general, was the guy supervising it. I mean, this is what we're going to do to America. Imagine if these guys get these even higher positions. Out the window.
I don't understand what dose of Lexapro the politicians, the elected Democrats, are taking, but I would be curious because maybe I need to get on it. Like they seem so unbothered, and I understand that
normalized.
you have to have a public front-facing persona, but like so let me tell you, I did go to the Senate last week, and it was a really good experience. I talked about it, but I thought about it more this week, and I was like, I wish that we could have more discussions with people specifically Democrats, to stop, waving hay in the halls and being like my colleague and all these things. It's like, I understand you're trying to make bipartisan things happen. You're not going to do it with these people. This is authoritarian fascism. So you need to draw the line, and you need to say when things like this happen, you need to say what they are. It's not hyperbole. Like, you're all under reacting and under reporting and under responding to this, for people who understand. These are people that know what the law, like, or how the law works, right? Like, these aren't people that we're plucking off the street, right? These elected Democrats, like, they understand what's at stake here. While you might be privately freaking out, you're putting on this public face. I think the Democrats need to, or I think the voting public needs to see you, not freaking out and throwing your hands up in the air, but like talking about how insane this is, like how absolutely, like, just this is like book levels, like fictional book levels of corruption, and we're just sort of like having hearings as if it's just a normal Tuesday or whatever. That's so disconnected for people. That's so incongruent.
Yeah, Adam, I posted this earlier, but there's a recording from the reporter. Let's listen to that for a second.
For some drinks sitting on a patio.
My wife and I were over at some friend's house for dinner, having a really nice evening, a glass of wine and all that.
My family and I had sat down to watch Sheep Detectives, murder mystery. And right as we were about to find out from the sheep who had committed the murder, I get a call.
And I pick it up, and it's an FBI agent who identifies himself and says, "I'm in front of your house right now. Are you coming home anytime soon?"
I mean, the level of intimidation, to a reporter, is really, I mean, that is dystopian right there. That is some crazy work. That's so I'm glad it was thrown out. They reported the truth. Like, you could tell, like, first of all, this is the problem I have with this Qatari Force One. Trump acts like he didn't know that it didn't have the proper securities. This was known before, like, we all knew this was before they actually put it into into stripping it down and upgrading it when he received this jet. And I remember pointing out, like, there aren't two of these. Chris, to your earlier point, there's only one. And then did this make any sense that there's also two that we're spending billions of dollars on? We've been working on it for years, and those are being made. So they're right behind this. So now we are doing this one twice. We're upgrading it twice, and we're already working on two more. This is supposed to be some administration that everybody was, not everybody, but a lot of people were believing was going to stop waste, fraud, and abuse. I have never seen this level of waste, fraud, and abuse in all my life. I mean, in this country.
Remember, Republicans are fiscally conservative.
Yeah. Never let them have that again. Never let them have that again. By the way, that movie is really good, and I know exactly what they're talking about.
My mom
That
said
Sheep
too.
Detectives movie.
Yeah, it's really good.
It was a little sad in the beginning, but it's good. Actually, in the middle too. There's some sad parts. It's good.
So all right, so hold on. Okay, so we're going to, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so to the point of all of that, I also feel like everybody needs to continue to prepare for how much this, like, we're only a year and a half through, right? And so,
why did you remind me?
Depressing.
I'm so sorry.
Everybody up your meds.
Yeah, speaking of which, bro.
Go have some salad.
You're right.
Check out.
Hot girl summer. So the next however many months before we get to the election, as things get worse, because things are getting worse, clearly, and people become even less enamored of the Republicans and more skeptical, even their MAGA cult followers, then the Republicans are going to get more desperate, and they're going to continue to do things and they're going to try to incite things that require, like, the SAVE Act or expand powers of the executive. This is very standard with any type of, like, authoritarian fascist regime. But I say that because I want to keep reminding people that it's going to get worse, and that I'm concerned because as it has gotten worse, we have seen certain politicians who do follow the line and consistently push back and say the right things and are having the correct measured responses, but there are not enough of them. And we, the public, need to make sure that we are not normalizing this, that we are not like just accepting that it's happening. And that, that they could be outside your door next, right? Like, and that's not, I'm not fear mongering. That's like a reality. I mean, yes, I am fear mongering, but that's like an actual reality.
No. That is an actual reality, because there was a story a couple of weeks ago about some guy that emailed, I can't remember, it may have been Kash Patel or one of the directors of one of the agencies, and they actually sent an FBI agent to talk to him about threats against the director.
Mm-hmm.
And I read the email and remember thinking at the time that this is very innocuous. And it turned out that in the story, a subsequent story came out and said that he wasn't the first one that this happened to. So this is not dystopian. This is not fiction. This is our reality. Normal people just petitioning the government for redresses, as they are entitled to in the Constitution, I'm almost quoting verbatim, are being harassed and threatened by our governmental agencies. Awful.
All right. So, anyway, I want to share this clip with you guys because this week some things happened with Medicaid, and we had the big beautiful bill, right, that passed. And one thing I want to point out is that there was funding included in that bill for rural hospitals to kind of keep them going, because everyone was saying, you're going to destroy what's left of rural hospitals if we take back. Because hospitals, a lot of the funding is from Medicaid. And you can look at where Medicaid expansion didn't occur, where, governors blocked Medicaid expansion, and you will see closures of clinics and hospitals because of that. But people aren't really talking about hospitals in urban areas and already underserved, like community hospitals in underserved areas. So watch this clip.
Hospital in Willowbrook offers vital health care for underserved areas of Los Angeles. And now, because of federal funding cuts, the hospital is facing a crisis.
Will it be able to keep its doors open? 3 years since the COVID pandemic ended, Martin Luther King Jr. Community Hospital in Willowbrook is still receiving and treating patients in tents outside where ambulances used to park. Their emergency room is one of the busiest in the country, even though they're a small community hospital, because they serve an area with few clinics and hospitals. 80% of their patients are covered by Medicaid. And now, staggering cuts to Medicaid, part of the big, beautiful bill, which will begin at the end of this year, $1 trillion over 10 years, would leave the hospital with a 20% gap in revenue.
We're worried about our patients losing their coverage, which means that they won't be able to access care outside of the hospital. They'll wait until they're sicker, and they'll end up coming into the hospital needing more care.
When the Medicaid cuts take effect early next year, MLK Community Healthcare will lose an estimated $80 to $100 million per year. MLK hospital officials say that's unsustainable, and they could eventually be forced to shut down.
And I want to mention that this particular hospital is a trauma hospital. That is one of the things they do very well, is serve trauma patients. So keep that in mind, and then watch this.
The administration is withholding another $199 million in Medicaid funding from Minnesota because of concerns over fraud.
Also California. He didn't say that, but
I was going to say California.
Also California. So that hospital that we were just talking about is even sooner than next year. It may not stay open. So
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the HHS secretary for the Trump administration, made the announcement saying that they are looking at the 14 high-risk Medicaid programs that Kara Levin has reported on extensively over the years that have been susceptible to fraud. But the Minnesota Department of Human Services says that they are not getting the data from the federal government. They don't know how they arrived at this $199 million figure. And officials at the state level from the Walz administration say they believe this is part of the retribution campaign from the Trump administration, accusing them of not being an honest partner on wanting to solve fraud.
And let's add the fact that Trump does not like Minnesota's governor, and he does not like California's governor. So this kind of shit's going to keep happening. But that rural hospital fund, which may keep some hospitals open in New Mexico and other places, that was never going to help,
right,
these hospitals in
I was going to
underserved
say
communities.
I could put up an almost identical story from a hospital closure in Philadelphia that it almost changed the name, and it's the same story as what you just showed. So it's going to be a problem in every city.
It is. And people don't, and this is another point we should make, is people do not realize, you know, their lives may have not changed much because of the big, beautiful bill yet, but it was designed not to kick in until after the midterms. So a lot of the pain and suffering is going to be after the midterms. It's going to be,
Right.
you know, so buckle up, folks. You know, and here's the thing I want to say too, because I think we'll talk about this a lot. We're going to have most likely we're going to have a Democratic House, okay, after midterms. And at some point we will have a Democratic president, and we'll probably already be deep in economic pain by then. Who do you think is going to get the blame? And this is what always happens. Like when you know, Bush drove us into an economic ditch with all their deregulation and all their, you know, friendly, you know, relationships with the banks. Obama got a lot of that blame when he was the one that was getting us out of that ditch. And Republicans knew that wasn't true, and they went on Fox every night and towed the line with each other and talked about Obama was horrible for the economy, and he wasn't. And we're going to have we're going to have to work hard. We're going to have to work hard with messaging, basically saying like, this was Republicans, and we're not good at that. Sorry, we're not. We move on.
I disagree with you a little bit, Chris. I absolutely agree that this happens every time that there's a Republican administration, and they may have some short-term sugar high economy fix, but ultimately it comes crashing down and the Democrats are holding the bag. But this time it's a little different because there has been no sugar high. All there's been is pain, essentially for the past year and a half, coming on 2 years, and it ain't going to be fixed anytime soon. And probably with this idiot in charge, going to continue for the next 2 years. So I think that this time may be a little bit different. But you are also absolutely correct with your point on messaging. And this is something that we're going to have to hammer home. You can't trust a Republican on your economy ever again. This is what they do every single time. And, you know, will Democrats have the fortitude to stick to that messaging for the next 4, 8, 10, 20 years? Who knows? But they should.
I try not to think about it. I try not to think about it.
The Medicaid cuts are only a part of this. There was a report that just came out that the health insurance companies had to make a report detailing what their projected increases will be for next year. And they're all projecting double-digit percentage increases in premium payments. So for everybody that just got walloped this year with their premium payments going up, you're going to get that next year. And you're going to have even more people leaving health insurance completely who are going to be overwhelmingly younger and healthier, which is going to further that process of health insurance unraveling, which has the potential of collapsing the entire system.
That's why KFF, nonpartisan research on medical issues, reported that if the big ugly bill gets passed, what was it, 10 million people are going to die in the next 10 years or something like that. I can't remember if that figure is accurate, but it was in the millions of people that would die as a result of this legislation.
And it's really hard not to see that that's the goal.
Yeah.
That is the explicit goal.
Mm-hmm. And I want to be clear here that there is a failure of the Democratic Party that needs to be talked about. It's not going to get better by just ignoring it. And the failure is that even if you have constraints, like Republicans outspend you because the billionaires love Republicans because they give them tax breaks, and there's all this corruption. Like, so you're at a disadvantage, and I see that. I recognize that. You're also a big tent party, so you've got a lot of people to cater to that have a lot of different needs, and that makes it a lot harder. Whereas the Republican people will show up and vote for dirt, honestly. But what you do have control over and where you are dropping the ball here is with education. And this is the amount of energy and effort that people like us have been doing to try to bring awareness to people, unpaid work that we do, is unfathomable to me, that we don't have people in the party working harder to find ways to connect with people so that they understand the things that Adam's talking about, right? Like, so that there is that so that they can stick to these points in 4 years, 6 years, however long, because they've done the work needed to be able to continue that education going forward, so people understand the necessity of it, so that people understand how it affects them, so that people understand why they're entitled to it, so that people understand what happens when they don't get it. Like, and all the fallout that we're realizing now is a failure of communicating that and of educating that. And you are never going to find me a teacher. You're never going to look at me, a teacher, and say, well, you don't understand. Like, you can fuck right off to hell, because you know what they make teachers do? Like, you know what we have to do in the classrooms? Like, in the kinds of things we're required to do, and you're telling me you can't just explain basic civics to people? Stop. Like, we're not going to do that anymore. So every single candidate that's running needs to find a way to speak the language of the voters. And it's not these answers, these long running, like, antiquated political answers people don't want to hear. Like, they don't want you talking about things that don't translate to them. They're like, I'm gonna do it. I don't care what you think you're gonna do. Like, can you explain it to me in less than 30 seconds with bullet points preferably, and something that's tangibly going to affect me? And I understand that that's hard. That's a rough road, but I don't feel sorry for you, because look at what we're dealing with right now. And that is partially the fault of the Democratic Party. And I, believe me, spend plenty of time yelling about Republicans. So Democrats need to take that constructive feedback, and they need to do something with it. Because if not, then all the things that Adam talked about are going to be that much harder to achieve, because we're not going to have the support of the public if we don't do that, if we don't make these changes. We are going to have to assemble the plane while we're flying it, and it's also crashing. Sorry to tell you that.
All right, let's watch this clip, and I think it says a lot. And I hope people pay attention to this.
Affordability is a hoax. It's a con job. I think affordability is the greatest con job.
People are buying their holiday presents. They're planning.
Look, don't be dramatic.
The president had suddenly refused to sign a bill supported by Republicans and Democrats that would have helped Americans with housing and affordability.
Much more than a bill, that big deal. It's a yawn.
The recent escalation in the war with Iran is once again causing gas prices to rise.
This is peanuts, and I appreciate everybody putting up with it for a little while. I don't think about Americans' financial situation.
Prices at the pump are on the rise amid the ongoing Iran war. The cost of housing remains a top political issue among young voters. Polling shows about 2/3 of Americans say they would describe the cost of groceries as unaffordable, up from the 45% who said the same thing in February. And looming over it all, the impact of AI on the economy,
which is a greater degree than ever, a sense that we're going to have a haves and have-not economy. And that's going to have some major political implications.
The have and have not economy. I think that's a mouthful right there. And I think this kind of video should be on all the ads, because Trump is digging himself into a deep hole. And the fact that people are forgetting that he says these things, like, I don't care about you, I don't care about, and he means it. Like, he never cared about any of his MAGA supporters. He just wanted them to vote for them. He thinks they're suckers. I mean, this is crazy.
Don't talk to me about cancel culture. Don't talk to me about losing election in Kentucky, a special election in Kentucky, and how that can hurt you. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, this man just gets up every day and runs the country. Like, he won. He's been saying this stuff for like decades now. This isn't new. This is not new. This is, people have the attention span of gnats. Okay, like, apparently. So like, the idea that they can still claim that they're good on economy and that reporters don't bust out laughing, like, why can't we just be honest? Like, it is not unprofessional. Like, when he's like, don't be dramatic about that. The pushback should be
big
like,
yawn.
I have to live in my car, sir. Like there needs to be like some drama and like theatrics. Like people need to be prepared for this. Like, I don't know, do we send them to improv schools? I'm not sure what we do, but like there needs to be some creative solutions happening here.
So
Everybody was thinking about
this
that
is a new
improv. You were
Fox
thinking
poll.
about that improv school thing, weren't you?
This is Fox News poll that came out a couple days ago, and he is severely underwater here. I mean, 24. I don't know who these 24% are. I guess that's MAGA right there. If you like excellent on the economy,
That's it.
excellent. Like
No.
I would say, I have no opinion. I don't think if I didn't want to like turn on my MAGA colleagues, and then 76% say poor, only fair.
But there's always a boogeyman associated with it. In all the clips
Yeah.
that you had, the second part of it was something akin to, but the war is to keep Iran from having a nuclear weapon. That's always the justification. And now we're seeing the rhetoric change to it's fighting communism again, as if it's
Yes.
the 1950s. So
Yes.
the
And we're
education-
the communists, by the way.
and we're
I
the
think the
communists.
Democrats are
We're the
supposed to be the communists. I don't think
And-
Iran is what he's talking about.
No, I was saying that it's two separate things.
Yeah.
And that part of the education needs to be fighting back against that and pointing out that this is the boogeyman that he's using, but here's the reality.
And to my point that I made earlier, the 68%, that's 68%. That's because of what I was saying earlier. That should be 90%. Like, how motivated are you to vote in November? That's not higher for Democrats because they don't have enough faith in this party to do something once they win. There's you got to start talking about this. Like, you got to start talking about. People get upset with me, they get mad at me, and I'm like, I'm not just being here empty, like, with criticism. I'm bringing you constructive feedback. I said in my post, if you want a hug or some morale boosting, call your mama. Like, if you want some strategy, call me. And this is what I'm telling you. This is a reflection of people not having faith in the Democratic Party to act courageously, to act tenaciously with assertiveness. Republicans, this is great for us. When the Republicans are this low, this is a gimme. That's amazing, because they're the ones that usually do like support their party no matter what. And this is how bad the economy is, right? Like, that they're starting to be like.
I'd like to respond to Victor Harshman. He says Providence Insurance is no longer participating in the ACA marketplace as of 2027. I have to find another provider. My wife moves onto Medicare next year. She's 65. I'm 62. I feel your pain. My wife and I, as small business owners, we bought our insurance through the marketplace. We canceled our insurance. It was not worth it. We were paying, what were we paying? We were paying $1,700 a month before, which is still, kind of high. And it was jumping to $3,000 a month. So that was $3,600 a year that we're going to pay for insurance. And my wife was the one that had said, because she's the one that deals with that bill, like dealing with, when we get those bills from the hospital, like, you're billing us twice and all that stuff. She was like, this is ridiculous. It's a shakedown. I want to cancel. So we're buying our insurance. We're buying our healthcare out of pocket. If you have insurance and you're ill or whatever, I'm not telling you to cancel your insurance, but I'm just saying that's a decision we made.
Well, some people can.
It is negotiable.
Some people
can't, but it is. I think people do not realize you can negotiate your healthcare when you go in and just say, what is the cash price? It does not mean you have to come in with a bundle of cash. It just means you have to settle the bill before you leave. They're not going to send you a bill. Yeah. So you ask them, the cash price is a lot less than what they are billing insurance. So I'll move on. I want to harp on.
No. I think that's a really good point about the, like, always negotiating that. I just meant some people, like, we are stuck on my employer's plan and we can't get off of that plan unless we have proof that we have other insurance. Like,
we just thought we
have
could do
to pay
better
like
than
$1,800
$36,000 a year. $36,000
well,
a year.
yeah.
Is not,
I mean, we pay $1,800 for crappy insurance, so like a month. So that's, I think, at least, yeah.
And so
It's
this
absurd.
poll right here, let me make it bigger. This is a new poll as well. How motivated are you to vote in the November elections? 68% are more enthusiastic about voting for Democrats, 68% of Democrats are enthusiastic or motivated. Republicans are 50% of Republicans. This is a really good sign for Democrats. And we've been seeing this in the special elections throughout the country, the in-state elections.
I undercut your.
What?
I
No, I'm just saying, like, look, this is not a gimme.
I was going to respond
this
to you,
does not
Casey.
translate to Democrats being in a favorable, like the favorability rate. Democrats are still in the toilet, better than Republicans, but it's still really bad. But we're going to vote because we see where the problem lies. Not that we're necessarily happy with the Democratic Party. So I'm just saying, if we're talking about the House flipping, I think that we've also been talking about the Senate flipping. I think this adds oxygen to that narrative.
But to Casey's point, both of those grades are an F.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
I'm not gonna
and
argue that.
I compare it to the energy, and obviously this is a presidential race, so it's different. But the energy we felt in the summer and fall of 24 with Kamala's campaign, and that motivation to vote, that the Democrats need some centralized strategy to harness some whisper of that, a ghost of that, because there's just nothing in terms of that kind of positive energy. And again, that would come from I hate to say it, but like a Newt Gingrich contract with America kind of thing, where you lay out, this is what we're going to do, and this is why you should vote for us and not just against Republicans.
I don't necessarily. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that, Chris, or with Casey's point. Yeah, I'd like to see a whole lot more. I'd like to see a lot less of Andy Bashir's type of energy. Although I just think that that's who Andy Bashir is, and that's people have kind of forgotten that, because last time he tried to run for president, that's kind of how he came across.
Yep.
But on the other hand, you've got Ossoff, who's been doing a wonderful job, and Hakeem Jeffries has been putting out some pretty good stuff lately as well. So listen, he's not everybody's cup of tea. I understand Hakeem Jeffries, but I mean, he's been stepping up a lot more.
I think that's true. I just think it's hard for people when you're this late to the party. If you're, and it's kind of like, where have you been? I think I agree with you. He's done a lot better. I personally would like to see him with the people more and less, on talk shows and the podium.
I would love to see him ripping
that.
Democrats to shreds that don't vote the way they should on appropriation bills and defense spending bills. And that should be they should be publicly shamed. And I think that at this point, right, I'd like to stress, we're not in normal politics. And to your point, Adam, do not believe that we are going to achieve the 90% that, of course, I would strive for. But I do feel that for how bad things are, that
it should be a much bigger number. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that from what I see from people on the streets and from what we're seeing from people online,
especially this, look at how close this forecast is.
Yeah, that's what it should look like in normal times.
Yeah.
Let me put this like to you. We all know here on the panel that there's always the party that's in control always loses seats at midterms, because that's people's natural inclination to vote against the party that's in control. That's history. That's what we've seen. And so this is traditional. That's what we would normally see. We should see way more gains, and we may well, because, like, to be fair, that I am not necessarily beholden to polls. They can be very wrong. But the people that I'm seeing in real life that are going to show up and vote are not doing so with the fire and energy that I did see back with Kamala Harris. They're doing so like they're sludging through mud. Like, I don't really know what good this is going to do, because if nobody's going to fight back against these people, like, what, you know what I mean? Like, this is just like, we're going to maybe stop him. Like, maybe, like, is anybody going to fix it? Like, nobody has any idea, again, because there's not a leader right now. The party is not organized in a way where we have messaging strategy that we can really deliver as a party the way that Republicans do. We don't have a figurehead like Trump that's like standing up, that's being like representative of the whole party. There's a lot of different reasons, but again, like there are elected Democrats and they do hold office, so they could be using their media, and someone could start something and try to start inviting people, but they're all trying. People are trying to run for president. People are trying to leave that like place open, like trying to stay neutral or trying to, you know what I mean, like trying to not piss people off because they think they may want to run for office someday. And I submit what I submitted to you all last year, and I think it's been well over a year that I've been saying this. Somebody could have stepped up to the plate, tried to overthrow Schumer like a while back, and tried to unify the Senate or the House
They're
or whatever.
gonna run for president.
And then they could run for president because
Yeah,
people would
but
be
they're
like,
not making
amen.
that way.
Nobody did it.
Yeah.
Nobody did
No,
it. It's too
not
late
happening.
now.
Yeah.
Too late now.
So Trump's been talking in circles, lying all the time. He has no plan.
Marco.
This timeline shows, what a joke this is. We know 3 service members died this week.
At least 3.
4.
Yeah. Was it 4?
I think so.
Let's play
Yes.
this clip. And they did not name, they named the 2. This is from 2 days ago, but this kind of gives us the state of the war.
This is the moment Iranian missiles struck a U.S. base here in Jordan, killing multiple. Video circulating online showing massive explosions. One missile striking a housing container unit, according to sources, although it is unclear whether that is where the fatalities occurred. Tonight, U.S. Central Command identifying 2 of the soldiers killed, the youngest, 19-year-old Private Isabella Gonzalez of Texas, and 25-year-old First Lieutenant Tyler Feehan of Hawaii. Officials say human remains found are likely those of a 3rd missing service member, still unidentified. And in Iraq, where Iran has unleashed a relentless missile and drone assault, the U.S. says an additional U.S. service member was killed during the controlled detonation of a downed Iranian attack drone. President Trump vowing retaliation, warning Iran will pay many times over for every American soldier killed. And tonight, the U.S. launching new attacks on Iranian military targets for the 10th straight day. An Iran-backed group is now threatening to block passage of Saudi ships through the Red Sea, with traffic in the critical Strait of Hormuz already way down. All of this sending oil prices higher and gas prices in the U.S. now topping $4 per gallon.
Yeah, so I don't know, y'all. And then they approved that war bill. When every day we're getting news like this, $95 billion.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's a baby. That girl's a baby. And for why? For what reason? Like this didn't. We are, especially. I'm gonna just speak for millennials and my generation, like downward. Like none of us want this. Like nobody wants to be. We don't want to be the like most supreme power in the world. And this whole notion that we have to be the safeguard of the world when we're the cause of it. Like, so this is just absurd, like all around, like we have to be the protector. We're the one instigating everything. And like the amount of death that we have caused and brought on, like, I am disgusted by it. And this is just a different era in the world and for the expectations of the people, and Republicans are pursuing it like it is like Cold War era, like Reagan heydays. It's not anymore. And I don't think that the voting population wants it either. But again, there's not a counter to this. There's not a big enough counter on the other side explaining why not only is this irresponsible and negligent and like wasting our taxpayer dollars, like it's so unnecessary and performative and, like distracting so that they can steal more and take more power and money. There's not a big enough voice on the opposition because, again, people are afraid to criticize the defense because, as Chris Quinn pointed out earlier, it oftentimes looks like you're criticizing the troops. And this is where I already blanked on his name. The Patrick, what is his name? The guy that said that Trump should be impeached and then got arrested, and I couldn't remember his name.
Oh
I don't remember
yeah,
his name. Whatever. He was
John Paul
whatever.
Watson.
Oh,
There you
right.
go. Him, I don't know his story, and I don't really care. The point is, like, the more service members that do start speaking out, or the more people we can give shield to that have been in the military before, that can speak to those things. I think that that's helpful. The members of Congress who have served in the military themselves and can speak from experience, that would also be super helpful. If you at home are a veteran and you can find a way to explain why this is crazy, that would be really helpful. And that I think that we need more of that on our side. Thank you. To
Joseph Paul Watson.
Because they're doing that thing where they stand out and try to act like, that we are protectors of the world. Most people don't have a really strong grasp on American politics, let alone geopolitics. Most people do not understand, what's going on in the world. So if you tell them something, they're going to believe it. So the Republicans have the one side of this narrative and are laying it down, and people are like, okay, I guess so, because they don't know any better.
So I want y'all to watch this clip. I want to hear everybody. I hope y'all can tell me your opinion on this.
Trump has signed a nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia that's going to be very controversial because, according to some experts, it could see the Saudis eventually developing a nuclear weapon. The deal is a commercial agreement for US companies to build nuclear power plants inside Saudi Arabia rather than giving the technology to the country. But it could lead to the Saudis being able to develop their own fuel for nuclear reactors. A deal like this has been talked about for years, but it was always believed it would be in return for Saudi Arabia diplomatically recognizing the state of Israel. President Trump seems to have dropped that condition, and according to US news reports, he may allow Saudi Arabia to enrich uranium on their own soil without strict international inspections. A similar deal was agreed with the United Arab Emirates back in 2009, but it was much more restrictive, with a really tight inspection regime and a ban on enriching uranium on their own soil. This deal is so controversial because it could lead eventually to Saudi Arabia developing a nuclear weapon. Their leader has said that if Iran does that, he will do the same.
I think that last point is very important because it's on record that the Saudis said that they would develop a nuclear weapon if Iran ever did. But the bigger thing is, the Trumps are in bed deep with the Saudis. Like there's got to be some profit in this for them. There's no way this is on the level.
100%. 100%.
I immediately was like, what?
It's upsetting that people are not talking about that more, right? Like, because they went off and bought an island. Like they're buying an island. Like what in these what do you mean they're buying an island, you all? Like what? Sorry, go on.
So apparently, I can't remember which two companies, but two American companies are bidding on the construction of the nuclear power plants. And my guess is that either Trump has or will buy stock in one or both of those companies.
Or his sons.
You're muted, Chris Webb. Still muted, Chris Webb.
He's going.
I agree with you is what I was trying to say. 100%.
That's why I made sure you're muted.
That's crazy.
There was further reporting on this that said that they would impose the condition that the Saudis subscribe to the Abraham Accords, which would recognize Israel. But the Saudis apparently said that they wouldn't do that unless there was an assurance that there was a Palestinian state. So, once again, the terms seem to be changing, just like they were with, or have continued to, with Iran. So who the hell knows what's the truth?
Yeah.
So last week we spoke a lot about the in fact, was it still on the air? Trump's speech about election fraud, like all his claims. I think, or we just came on right after that.
It was right after.
Okay, so let's follow up. There's some good reporting, fact checking. Let's show this clip that I think did a very clear, easy to understand fact check.
Documents he released revealed little new information about election vulnerabilities.
So in case people missed it, he did this speech. They declassified a bunch of documents that he said was going to prove election fraud, and the 2020 election was stolen from him. Bottom line.
As President Trump tried to alarm the country about foreign interference in the way we count our votes, the documents released showed very nearly the opposite. One of them, an intelligence assessment issued while he was president in January of 2020, says America's election system, quote, would be difficult to manipulate on a wide enough scale to alter the election outcome. And while he warned again and again about China, the documents that he himself declassified showed that the only country actually observed attempting to target, access, or manipulate election-related systems was Russia, a country he referred to only in passing in his roughly 25-minute speech. As for China, he told us it had pulled off, in his words, the largest compromise of election data in history, the illicit acquisition of 220 million American voter files, which he called an unprecedented election security nightmare. But buried in the very documents that President Trump released is the fact that the information was, quote, publicly available for download from commercial websites. It doesn't need to be hacked or stolen. It's data that can be legally bought, the kind that political campaigns purchase all the time. And the Chinese obtained that data in 2022, after the election the president claims was rigged. But the single most significant thing to me in all of these documents that the president declassified Thursday night was this: an intelligence assessment warning that one of the most damaging things that a foreign power could do is not to hack a voting machine, but to convince Americans that they had done that. As one of the documents Trump declassified warned, quote, adversaries could make wholly fabricated claims that they have compromised all U.S. voting machines. And those claims could introduce public doubts about the validity of the election and undercut public confidence in the election.
So his main claim was about China. And as you saw there, that's bogus. But I don't even think Trump really believes that. He was just telling the American public, as was pointed out in the video, just so that trust, in the elections was gone. But this little clip, I think, is a tell on Trump from his own lips.
Has been amping up his unproven claims of widespread election fraud, pointing a finger at China.
Of China's sinister election meddling.
Just 3 months ago, Trump heaped praise on China's longtime leader, Xi Jinping.
You're a great leader. I say it to everybody. You're a great leader. Sometimes people don't like me saying it, but I say it anyway because it's true.
Today, asked if China will now face consequences for their alleged election meddling, Trump brushing it off.
Well, we're going to talk to him about it. It took place a long time ago. I think China is maybe a little bit different today than it was then.
How feckless does he sound there? If he really believed China stole the election or manipulated results in some way, he wouldn't let it go. Like, we know Trump by now. He does not let shit go like that. He doesn't believe it. He wouldn't.
Especially if it was the 2020 election. And by the way, as that report from ABC showed, the only country that was seriously meddling was Russia. And the document showed that they were meddling on Trump's behalf.
The entire purpose of that speech was to put pressure on Republicans and to try to convince the American public in general that the SAVE Act was necessary. That was it. And it is also from his ego being bruised that he lost the 2020 election, which he will never concede because his ego could not take that.
I think even MAGA's sick of hearing about it at this point. They just, it's like, whatever. It's, unless you're a January 6er, you're not interested in it. I just think it's all bullshit. So this news came out.
But he's still using his. Well, what is he doing? He's still showing up and still using his platform. And what have I been saying all live and my whole life long? which is you don't got to be perfect. You don't even have to be good. If you keep showing up every single time and shouting like whatever it is that you want to do, like you're going to gain a following. It's like, this is why there's content creators that you see that have tons of followers and you're like, how? Because they're posting all the time and showing up, and that's how. And so like, this is why it would behoove the Democrats to find a way to have one or two spokespeople that they get behind, or some sort of organizational strategy. I don't care. I'm just making the point that you guys start taking some risks, because it doesn't matter. As long as you show up, that's the bar.
Yeah.
That's
So to
the
Michelle's
bars
point,
in hell.
they slipped the SAVE Act into the military funding bill. And during the debate for the SAVE Act, this news came out, basically. It really sucked.
Governor Mikey Sherrill revealing that because of a computer error, about 6,600 non-citizens applying for a driver's license were also improperly registered to vote.
In the case of this error, some individuals indicated that they weren't citizens and weren't eligible to vote, but the software registered them anyway.
The governor says about 400 of those non-citizens actually voted, but that there's no evidence their votes swayed any elections. She says officials became aware of the issue last week and that all 6,600 people are being scrubbed from the voter rolls.
We don't deflect, deny, or exploit problems for our own gain. We find them and we fix them.
The president has been amping up his unproven claims of widespread election fraud, pointing a finger at China.
Of China's sinister election meddling.
Just 3 months ago, Trump heaped praise on China's longtime leader, Xi Jinping.
You're a great leader. I say it to everybody. You're a great leader. Sometimes people don't like me saying it, but I say it anyway because it's true.
Today, asked if China will now face consequences for that.
Anyway, I think I wish he had waited a couple days to release that information. But I think the important thing is that these people were not undocumented; they were documented, and but they weren't U.S. citizens. They were not trying to say that they were U.S. citizens. This was a computer glitch that registered them anyway. And these are states handle elections. New Jersey is handling this situation, and I'm sure Republicans are running with this. But I think it's important for everyone that's watching to spread the facts that these were not non-U.S. citizens trying to fraudulently vote. They were registered.
And that 400, it was a couple elections that it went over. It was 0.02% of the electorate in the one election and 0.009 of the other election. And that's statewide. And you're assuming that they would all vote one way, which is not necessarily the case. And they've all been removed. And she called out the fact that it was the former governor that found this out, and that should have been transparent and wasn't, and now she's being transparent. So if you're worried about voter fraud, this is exactly what you want to have happen. You want people to find the problems, you want them to be transparent about it, and you want them to fix it. And the problem is so minuscule as to not have any effect on the outcome of any election.
And yes, it would not have affected any of the elections. These instances are exceedingly rare and usually exactly this minuscule. And by the way, the SAVE Act wouldn't have stopped this. It was a computer error. Yeah. It had nothing to do with voter ID.
That's the key right there, is that this wasn't they try to sell you on the idea that there are all these people that are trying to infiltrate our country and take it over, and they have all these master plans to try to ruin our voting systems with their cheating ways. And this was absolutely, no one orchestrated this. This was like a computer glitch, right? And I think that the more we, like you say, lead with facts and move through it, like, don't stop and debate this. Like, I need you all to stop getting stuck in the mud trying to justify these things. Throw out the facts and move on and be like, nobody's on this because it's not a story. Bye. Like, don't let them have it.
Speaking of moving on, let's just go ahead and do that. So
Thank you.
Fox News reported. I keep going back to these Fox News clips because they're interesting. Because sometimes they're saying some things that they don't even like reporting.
First look at the landscape ahead of the midterm elections this fall. The Senate basically a coin flip, with Fox projecting an even 48-48 split, with the balance of power coming down to Senate seats in 4 states: Alaska, Iowa, Ohio, and Maine. Now, as for the House of Representatives, Fox News projects that Democrats have the lead to flip the control of the House of Representatives to blue. But victory, of course, is not guaranteed. There are 16 House seats projected as toss-ups that will end up deciding control. But Republican redistricting wins could change all of that.
So notice that last part, Republican redistricting wins. That affects the House. It doesn't affect the Senate. But they're even acknowledging that that's their only path is, cute kitty.
Cheating.
Is cheating. Yeah, basically cheating, redistricting, black folks out of voting power. That's how they win. They're not going to win. I think we
just imagine how much it hurt poor little old Kayleigh McEnany's heart to talk about how the Democrats.
That's the part I love the best, that she's actually reading that, and she kind of did it with her whole chest. I have to say,
poor little Kayleigh.
I saw this other clip on TikTok, which I thought I wanted to share with you guys too about our prospects.
Election forecast just dropped, and I've never seen anything like it before. Elect Index just published a full state legislative forecast for the 2026 midterms. Not only can you see who is forecasted to take control of every single state's lower and upper house, you can zoom in on every single state and see where all the competitive races are. And this means that even if you live in a very red state like Missouri, you might actually live in a competitive state legislative seat that you didn't even know about. For instance, as just one little example, if you lived in Springfield, Missouri, you actually have a toss-up state Senate seat and state House seat. And one of the reasons these elections matter so much is that who controls state legislatures decides who draws the maps and will control gerrymandering going into the 2028 cycle. Therefore, it is one of the Democrats' top objectives to achieve trifecta control of more states, and trifecta control is when you have the governorship and both houses of the state legislature. In the lower house side, Democrats right now are right on the bubble in several states, including Arizona and Wisconsin, where they could achieve that very important trifecta control. And one of the reasons they're so close is that in those upper house races, they actually are currently favored. And when we zoom in on that Wisconsin map, we can see right away where all of the competitive districts are. And down below, they make this even easier because they actually show you which districts in the model are the most likely to be the tipping point district. So the last district that Democrats need to flip in order to take control. And right now, the 2 districts that matter the most are the Waukesha district, which is the one that is yellow right west of Milwaukee, and this other district west of Madison. So if you live in these 2 places, you could decide who controls the Wisconsin State Assembly. So go to Elect Index and check out these maps, because even if you live in the bluest of blue states or reddest of red states, you might still live in a competitive state house or state senate race and have no idea.
So anyway, I think it's looking good, even with the shenanigans Republicans have been pulling out. I just think there's no way to stop this wave. I think Trump is doing himself harm every day. Keep letting, as annoying as he is to listen to, keep letting him talk, because it's But unfortunately,
let Trump be Trump.
Yeah, let's. All right, so Nolan Wells, Casey.
Hello.
Hey, do you want to start off, or do you want me to play a video?
I will give you a quick little recap of this. So Many of you have been following the case of Nolan Wells, who is an 18-year-old that first went missing on Horn Island, which is off the coast of Mississippi, around July 4th, on July 4th that weekend. And then a couple days later, his body was found. And during that time, the photo was released by his mother, who has a Facebook account you can go follow, actually, because she's been providing updates the whole time. And it was said that his friends left without him, that he wanted to stay on the island by himself. And part of the concern at the time was that his phone was on the boat. with his friends. And so that kind of got the media churning, right? That there is concern that, hey, like there are these 4 white kids, and then the one black kid is the kid that didn't come home. And not only did he not make it back in the state of Mississippi, I mind you, is that he didn't have his cell phone, and he's on this island that's very unpopulated, that doesn't have anything. And when I say anything, I'm not even 100% sure that the ranger station is still there, but that was the one thing. And there's not water, there's not food, there's not like a hot dog cart, so there's nothing there. It's like these are barrier islands. It's not even a mile wide, right? It's like 8 or 9, 10 miles long, and not even a mile wide. It's a really small island. And so he was found face down with his clothes on, and they conducted an autopsy initially. And I believe they released the cause of death as drowning, but they didn't really give any explanation. And his parents hired attorneys and had a second autopsy done, which is what dropped yesterday.
So maybe now's a good time. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So Nancy
the
Grace
internet lost their mind earlier this week when we saw this video.
Wales bombshell tonight. The dead teen's messages deleted after his body washes ashore. Caitlin, now allegations have reared their ugly head that his phone has been tampered with and items have been deleted. Explain.
They had his phone, and when his mother was looking for his phone when he was missing, there were 2 different ways to identify it, either a Snapchat location or a Life 360 location. They showed different locations, which is very possible because one updates automatically, the other only updates when you open the app. But when she finally tracked it down, she says there was nothing on it from that day.
So, yeah, so we were like, oh, Nancy Grace. First of all, Nancy Grace is controversial. Some people like her, some people don't. But Casey,
I'm not a fan.
Earlier, she's relentless, and she brings a lot of attention to cases. Go ahead, Casey.
Let me just say, I have a lot of familiarity with Nancy Grace because she covered both Trayvon Martin's case and also Casey Anthony, and both were out of Orlando. And when I tell you the whole entire county was following that case, especially Casey Anthony, because that was such a public spectacle. In a lot of ways, like Trayvon Martin, like that was out in Stanford, and they really did want that to just be done with. But the Casey Anthony thing was just a cluster, the whole thing.
And social media wasn't as big on those cases back then.
Right. And so we were like, watching the TV, right? Old school style. And Nancy Grace was on it every single night. And she is like a dog with a bone, and she's problematic, and she is like out for attention. But most people in her realm of media are. And so I do want to point out that she, like most people, is there for her probably gain. But this is bringing attention to a case that might not otherwise get as much attention, because as we know, whenever a black child or teen goes missing or is murdered, they oftentimes don't get the same exposure as that of a white child. And then on top of that initially a lot of what was coming out of the police from the state of Mississippi, which we know has a long-standing history of corruption and racism, was really problematic. And thankfully the family hired Ben Crump, who again, that he's also, there's different feelings about that, I know, within different communities. But again, is going to stay on this, right? And unfortunately, we just live in an era where that kind of attention and exposure matters. So the next,
that's why I'm not coming for her. She's bringing attention. I don't know. Is she still having a nightly show or not? I don't know. But
I don't even know any of that.
Yeah. So, but she's bringing the good. She's bringing attention to it. You don't have to watch, but it does make it so now, different than Casey Anthony's situation. You had the nightly news, you had Nancy Grace, you had Facebook or whatever, but you didn't have Twitter every night, and you certainly didn't have
Twitter was very new, I think, at that time.
So you weren't getting a lot of coverage the way you are, on social media the way you are now. Here's her talking about the independent autopsy. This is another short clip.
Tonight in the tragic
And so she always says bombshell tonight. That's her thing, right?
death of a young man, Nolan Wells. In the last hours, we learn the contents of a second independent autopsy on Nolan's body.
Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nolan Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation. The manner of death, undetermined, pending investigation.
Making the water even more murky. And the COD, cause of death, and MOD, manner of death. That's from our friends at NAACP. What happened to Nolan Wells?
So I think I'm gonna jump right into this other thing. I don't know. Do you know where's that case here? Do you know Daniel? Have you guys heard the case of Daniel Irving? So watch this clip because this is eerily familiar.
To talk with Tamika Irving. She's the mother of 18-year-old Daniel Irving, who drowned back in April in Texas after jumping off of a bridge and going swimming with two of his white male teenage friends. The medical examiner has ruled his death an accident, but according to police, the boys didn't call 911. Instead, they threw his clothes into the trees, discarded his cell phone, and deleted their text messages with him. His body was left in the lake for 4 days. The 19-year-old and 17-year-old boys have been charged with tampering with evidence, but neither is accused of causing his death.
According to police, Roper admitted to detectives that he deleted all communications with your son from his cell phone because he panicked and didn't want to get into trouble. Do you find that story credible?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because if you're not guilty of anything, why would you hide the evidence? Why would you delete his telephone, text messages? Why would you throw his clothes inside a tree line, on a tree line?
Now, in the interview tonight, his mother shares her anguish, of course, at the death of her son, an honor roll student and a member of his school's swim team.
He was my guardian angel, and always remember how respectful he was, how loving he is. It's hard for me to articulate in past tense because I'm still dealing with the grief and coping with it all. So please pardon me for that. I just remember him as being a loving person, a loving kid.
So that's, Daniel Irving. So these things happen, and a lot of times they are unsolved crimes, and hopefully Nolan Wells' family gets justice and some answers. So that's why I'm not mad at Nancy Grace, because if she can bring attention, if she can make more people, I mean, we have to be careful of these conspiracy theories as well. There's a lot of things I've been seeing. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not gonna, repost that. But this is what does, at least with Black victims, you can also see a very huge difference. Like when there's a missing person and they're of color, they don't get the same kind of attention that,
Right.
These young white ladies get. And this happens time and time again. I can share something personal with y'all because I posted this. I posted a thread last week that, I wanted people to understand the reason why a lot of Black people immediately were like, this stinks, something's not right here, when we found out about Nolan Wells. And this in my own family, my son went to a very diverse school, but sometimes he'd get invited to parties from especially nerve-wracking for folks when it was a young white lady having a party and she would invite young Black men over. We would get these calls. My wife would get these calls from other Black parents saying, do you know her? Is she okay? Blah, blah, blah. And we'd have to vouch for her or him. Because what happens is if there's a problem, if there's trouble, the Black person will not get the benefit of the doubt. They will be criminalized. They will be made into an adult, even though they are a child, and they will be criminalized. So this is something that we are aware of when you're raising Black sons. Even, it doesn't matter. Both parents are married, you come from a good family. Your Black son is not going to ever get the benefit of the doubt. And you can see the difference in these cases where, really nothing would have happened if certain people hadn't spoke up on social media. His Nolan Wells friends, they were going to get away with this. I don't know if they're guilty.
Yeah.
I really don't. We don't know. But this is not smelling good to me at all.
This is also why I didn't feel bad about pursuing this when he was missing, and we knew some facts right out the gate, because his mom was saying things like, I have his phone, I got his phone, I used LifeTrack to find it. She was saying those things in the beginning, right? So we knew certain things that already just didn't make sense. So for all the reasons that you just said, it was like, I felt strongly that there was things that didn't make sense to me, and that I felt like this needed that exposure and attention. Because what's the worst case that happens, right? Is that his family gets answers and maybe no one is guilty, right? Right? They get the answers. It's a tragedy. They move on. But there has to be that level of attention put upon it so that they do get that. And then when we found out that one of the parents of the boys is a judge, and we knew this because that judge wrote her statement with her picture on her on her little letterhead
Must be trustworthy because she's a judge, y'all.
She's a judge that. I was like, I don't care.
Let's just say Janine Pirro was a judge too.
I'm saying
all the social media being deleted.
They all went private or deleted their social medias, and I don't even care, to be honest. I don't actually care whether they're innocent or guilty. When you are a parent that is a judge and you come out and you issue that statement, I'm going to fight you, because there needs to be someone on the other side doing that, because you can't be throwing your weight around like that. I think that's a problem for me. I think you're using I have children, and who's to say what I would do to protect them? But I also feel like there needs to be someone countering that. And so a white judge does that. It was bad taste in my mouth. I did not like it. And so, again, to your point, I don't feel bad staying on this story and pursuing this story, even if we don't have all the facts, especially because we don't have all the facts. We stay on this story until we get them. And if we're not satisfied, we keep pursuing. I don't think there's a problem doing that when we're talking about a child getting justice. Especially to your point about they constantly try to take boys and make them men, because it's a lot easier to, criminalize or make someone look like a villain when they're a man versus when they're a child. And so if you go and you look at the language in these Facebook posts of people that are talking about it, that are in the area of Mississippi and have opinions now, when he was missing, they were all helping or looking like they were helping, right? And then when he was found dead, that language shifted, right? Then it was that young man and those white boys, right? You see how the language already starts to shift when they're talking about it. Well, I'm sure those young boys didn't have anything to do with the disappearance of this man, this young man, right? Already out the gate, it's changing. And there was a lot of people having a difficult time believing. And I just need you all to remember that you just go into any true crime, even if you separate the race for just a second, go into any true crime. And there is a ton of when we have friends that are together that have disagreements, or an accident happens and someone makes a bad decision because they're teenagers. There's so much room for something to have happened and then for them to have covered it up. I'm not even getting into what could have happened if it was intentional. I don't trust anybody, so it could have been that. I'm just saying, to act as if that would never happen is silly. We have a whole history proving otherwise. So I really hope that we can keep amplifying. If you see stories that come out about it, if you could just repost those and continue to talk about it and ask questions about it, that would really help.
One more thing, and then we'll move on to the week's best. We do that every week, so we'll do it this week too. But I saw this clip this week, and my ears perked up. So I want to share this.
Live today,
I gotta
they
go,
simply
y'all.
complied with a vehicle stop by federal law enforcement. Just comply.
Well,
You get
the
a lawyer
family of the
and
man in
argue
Houston
in
said that
court.
he thought he was being robbed because it was an unmarked vehicle. Not that it was law enforcement at all.
They had emergency lights. They acted emergency lights, blue and light. In my vehicle I drive where I'm with my security detail.
You've
have
seen that on
emergency
video?
lights.
Because we haven't.
Seen what on video, ma'am?
That there were lights, because in the videos that we've seen, there aren't. And because there weren't body cameras, it is hard to substantiate some of what you were saying.
Okay, well, I have not seen the videos.
So I don't know if you heard, but he said, just comply. If they had just complied, this is something that police are trained to say. I mean, I realize he's talking about ICE here, but my ears perked up because we have heard this time and time again when Black people especially are brutalized and killed by police. But even when they are on the ground, clearly not able to fight back or anything, police say, comply, right? Do not resist is the other thing. You, by nature, your body is going to contract when you are on the ground being beaten, and they're trying to say you're resisting. And this is not for that person to hear. This is for the witnesses to hear. This is for, the body cams to pick up, even though we know ICE isn't using body cams apparently. But my ears perked up when I heard if he had just complied, because that's what they always say. Police always say when they're brutalizing someone, and this is the case here. This person wasn't given the opportunity to comply, not at all. So that was the one more thing.
Well, I want to just on that one more thing point or whatever. I just want to I'm just going to speak as a white person real quick. I do not think that the majority of white people have enough understanding of the history of trauma that Black people have faced. And I know this is going to sound like, I don't know, I'm not preachy to you. I'm saying I think it's a real problem because our history was obviously written mostly by white people, and it's only been in the last 15 or 20 years that I feel like we've had a better movement, which a lot of it has been the Trump administration has tried to take back, obviously, but only in the last however many years, especially with George Floyd, that people have started to have an understanding that there is different treatment, because our generation, specifically millennials, were taught religiously about equality, right? Not equity, but equality. And so that everything is fine, everything is equal. And so we had to start undoing that, right? That's the work of deconstructing from that white supremacy. But I really don't think because of that absence of history, I don't think people understand these stories. We don't talk about politics the way that Black people do for preservation, right? To keep themselves safe. We do the opposite. We're told not to talk about it. It's not acceptable to talk about it. So these kinds of stories, even if they did they did exist in the frame of white people, which I don't think that they were, but even if they weren't being talked about because it wasn't something you were supposed to talk about. And so there weren't the conversations being had. And I think that you have to understand that to have the empathy, right? To see, if you're taught that there's no problems, if you're taught that police are generally good, and that if you just go along and it's going to be fine, but you don't have a whole understanding of the history about why they wouldn't be people that have had brutality and know people that have had that, right? That's the problem, is that it's not just that it existed to a stranger. It's that it existed to their friends or their neighbors or their cousin or their sister or whoever. That white people can't understand that because they don't have that same shared experience, and they haven't been taught that. And even people like me who taught history classes, because you're limited in what you can cover, because you don't have time or you're not allowed or like I don't know, whatever. And states are rewriting history. I would just like to suggest that people sit with that a little bit more in terms of talking about politics and maybe letting that be a motivating factor for you to start doing that more, because I think it all ties in, right? What we're actually saying, and it's uncomfortable stuff. It's not comfortable. It's not supposed to be. But we've had like the privilege of not talking about it for so long, and look where we are. So look where we are. These when you see these kinds of stories, like find somebody to talk to about it, like at least one person, and do that with all of your stuff. Like find something that matters to you and take it home to people. I take it to everybody. Take it to your Costco greeter. Take it to everybody. But to that point, I had a long discussion with my massage therapist the other day about so she's a black woman, and we were talking about politics and voting, and she was saying how a lot of the people in her community were distrustful and were not as excited to vote because they also felt like there was going to be they were going to cheat Republicans. And so we had a long discussion about what to do about that, like how to respond to that. But the very first thing I did was validate that. Was say like that's totally valid to feel that way. It's 100% valid, and I understand why you feel that way. That's the first thing, because that's true. And then try to provide support. But would never have had that conversation if I hadn't brought something up that triggered that, is what I'm saying. We had like a 20-minute conversation, and afterwards she's like, thank you, I feel so much better. Like I actually feel like equipped to talk to people, and I feel a lot better about this. But we would not have had that conversation if I hadn't brought up whatever else got us there. So just talk about stuff. I don't care. Pick anything. start talking to people about stuff. That connects to the CTA, by the way. If you want to flip to the CTA, I can tell you that's the CTA. That and Charles Booker are the CTA. So I just did my CTA basically.
All right, that's all good.
There you go.
Yeah.
I did that.
Best of the week. Do y'all have anything? I do. I don't know if you guys do. Do you? All right. So something happened. So this is a two-parter, but it leads to something. So y'all saw this video. I want to say it dropped early last week, but I'm getting to a point here.
I'm authorizing a new screening program for testosterone deficiency for our service members, ensuring you have the right testosterone levels to operate at your absolute best. Because it's well-established science that as we age, testosterone levels often naturally drop. Under the supervision of our world-class medical professionals, warfighters age 30 and older are going to be tested annually as part of their periodic health assessment. It's a health assessment that happens every year. We're just adding this test. Those under 30 can voluntarily choose to get the test as well. If treatment is recommended, it's entirely your choice to receive testosterone replacement therapy. This initiative, it's not about artificial enhancement. It's about restoring and optimizing your natural capabilities, protecting your longevity, and ensuring you have the biological foundation required to sustain the fight.
So bottom line, gender affirming care is okay for men in the military. All right, we're not going to get into that part, but a lot of people pointed it out, right? Friday. So after our last live, a video was sent to me. Do you want to drop this video? And I was like, sure. So I want y'all to watch this video. It's perfect. All right, so the creator of this, his name is Bruce. His account is MAGA Country. If I re-up this video on my socials, Threads, Blue Sky, and X, if you want to check it out again, and his link is in there if you want to go pay him a visit on Facebook. But he's very talented. He does these like satire videos. He's great, and he writes the music. This is his music.
I was going to ask, did he write that music?
Yes,
That's
he does.
great.
He makes the music and does these videos. So to me, that was my best because that is so laughable. This video that Pete Hegseth did. I mean, we can talk about that all night long, but like this was perfect and it went viral. So many people got joy out of it. So many people did their own QTs and used the video. So keep them coming because we gotta laugh at some of this shit sometimes. So
I can go next because it connects to this.
Huh?
So earlier,
Yeah.
like mine connects to this. So earlier
Yeah.
today, after he tried to suggest that, you know, men in the military need testosterone, but we're also going to not allow gender affirming care, a judge, and by the way, it's Judge Anna Reyes, and she's great. And so she was like, hey, so explain it, like, just why is it that it's okay? Oh, you do have the thing?
I have the
why can we give testosterone to cis men but not transgender? Like, what's going on there? Can you explain that? Can you explain like why?
I can't
And I just
explain
thought that
90% of this shit, so I don't think he can
No.
either.
No, and I was like, explain it to me like I'm not a bigoted, transphobic, low-T, misogynistic, fragile, weak-minded white man obsessed with other people's genitals. And that's not what the judge said. That's what I said. But I thought it was great that she pushed back on this, and I think we should do more of that. I did like that. That made me happy to see that
Agreed.
because, like, make them account for it on the record, in public.
He's so in over his head, like this guy, and he's just tells on himself all the time. Like, dude,
This is why I said, like, I just had a hard time understanding how he finished from not one but two Ivy League schools, and I was like,
yeah.
because everybody was pointing out other people. I don't think Ted Cruz is stupid. I think he's loathsome, and he's done stupid things, but I don't think he's stupid, right?
I think
Same
that's
with
very
like.
true.
There's a lot of people like that in our government. Marco Rubio.
I think
don't
there's
he's
a lot of
stupid.
those Republicans are playing parts. Like they're smart. They're playing parts. They're doing. Ted Cruz has a podcast. He does well in his podcast. They're trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying not to
But
get
this
killed
is
by
like
MAGA crazy people.
Oscar-worthy
they-
acting, then, because that's like.
I think a lot of them. This is all performative.
But do you think him? Like you think that's an act? Like you
Ted
think he
Cruz?
goes home and no, Pete Hegseth.
Oh hell no! I think that's.
Okay,
I think there's so many things wrong with this dude. First of all, do we really think? Remember, he promised not to drink if they
Yeah.
confirmed him.
Yeah.
Do y'all think he's
no,
not drinking?
that definitely looks like a man that's had alcohol for sure.
and maybe other things. I mean, there's
Definitely other
He was
things.
probably really stressing during that hearing this week. Like, oh man, like
Yeah.
somebody give me a
No.
glass of something. Like, there's no way.
I
This
think that's
guy
partially
is-
why. Yeah, they're on stuff.
And doesn't he have
I
like
just-
12 kids or some shit? You know, like
With 3 wives, like
Yeah.
the fact that we like remember it used to be a divorce would end your career. Like not long ago, y'all. Like not long ago, a divorce was a scandal, especially in the Republican Party. This man has had 3 of them, or 3 spouses, 2 divorces. Oh my god.
incredibly accused of rape. I mean, this,
Yeah.
that should have derailed his nomination right then. They went on and confirmed him, and look at him. I mean, he's,
What a mess.
and you know what? Did you guys catch during the hearing, he admitted to using AI in this war. I do not have a clip, and I have not looked for it, but I was driving and I was like, this man just submitted to AI. And remember, we were saying there was reporting that AI is the reason the girls' school got, bombed.
Yes,
Because it was
yes.
using the wrong maps. You cannot be using AI to do this war shit.
No.
Like, no way.
No.
it makes too
or
many
if
mistakes.
you're using it in conjunction with people that oversee it and check it and know what they're doing and like
you
whatever.
can't just be like, oh, go find the whatever.
You can't rely on it.
Like, no.
But I mean, this is the guy that was sharing the group chat. Like, remember, like that, like group chat leaked. Like, so this is where we're starting with this. Man. Like,
accidentally put a reporter in there. Like, he's not the sharpest sniper, in the drawer, or maybe he's drunk.
Crazy. Oh my god. Yeah, could be that, I guess.
Well, on that note.
Oh, Chris, did you have anything? I don't want to cut you off.
Now, oh yeah, Chris, did you have any?
Chris,
you're good,
okay.
right? So between now,
I'm at the shore. I'm taking time off.
I have to tell you,
we made you show up
it
on your
isn't easy to
vacation.
do the week's best when the weeks are so freaking nuts. So you have to, like, I kind of thought, oh, that's it. I don't know. It's hard, but I think it's good.
That was when I didn't have anything but this. That was it.
My mom, bless her heart, was trying to help me earlier today find the best of, and she goes, Siri, tell me some good news. and it comes up.
Why do we talk about Jimothy?
And Siri comes up, Alex Murtaugh, indicted on tax fraud before his second murder trial. And I went, Siri, what? That's the best you got.
That's good news.
That's the best. That's the best there is.
So we called it a day after that.
Oh my god, yeah. I should have done Jimothy, the
raccoon with short spine syndrome. He's adorable. That's a good thing.
I'll show you a picture of him.
Little Jimothy.
And he's all over the news. And if you Googled him the other day, he would. I don't use Google, but somebody told me this. And I went and checked, and
he would go across the screen.
He would go across the screen, and it was so cute. Anyway, everybody's like really like that's like the one thing we all have faith in right now is Jimothy. Like everybody's like so upset, they just need something. Jimothy is it. So anyway,
so my good thing is I'm at the shore, and it's my happy place.
Yay! You deserve it.
Nice. All right. Well. I hope everyone's having a great summer, and thanks for joining us tonight, and we will see you next Thursday.
Bye.